After my pregnant Sil ignored my son's severe allergy and brought peanut-based snacks into our home, I threw them out. Am I the asshole? Hello, this is a throwaway account and a repost and update of sorts because my post got taken down from the other Am I the Asshole sub. My brother and his wife Laura, who is 7 months pregnant, are staying with us for a week or so since he's interviewing for jobs in the city my family and I are in. My kids love having their aunt and uncle around and everything's been great. Yesterday, Laura went out and came back with groceries. I thanked her but told her that we don't expect them to do this, the kitchen is stocked and that we're just enjoying having them. She said that she wanted to and that most were cravings she's been having. I started helping her unload the bags and noticed that a lot of snacks were with peanuts, cookies, crackers, PB, even some sort of cake fusion. It all made me uneasy because she knows my oldest son, 8M, is extremely allergic. I don't keep anything of the kind in our home because we've had an incident when he was younger, where we almost lost him. I didn't want to be rude but I told her that I'm not comfortable with having the stuff in the house. She told me that she would be careful, that she wouldn't eat it around him or his siblings and that she'd clean up after herself, that she was having intense cravings and needed them. Look, I've had 4 kids and kind of get where she's coming from, although I never had to have something, but every woman is different. I made sure my son knew not to touch any of it and to leave her alone when she's eating them. That was that. Today, I woke up early to make breakfast and open the fridge only to be greeted by strawberries dipped in PB left out without a container to chill. The PB jar wasn't sealed properly next to them and there were sandwiches on a plate because she likes the bread cold and soggy. I was pissed. I've read enough about airborne contamination to know that you can't really determine it, but I wasn't risking it. I grabbed a bag and started throwing everything in it, our groceries, hers, I didn't care. I was going to take the bag, drive to a shelter and let them know the situation. Laura woke up while I was on my rampage, came down and asked all upset what I was doing. I was snippy with her and didn't try to hide it. We got in an argument with her defensively saying that I can't do this, that the baby needs it and that it's cruel to put a pregnant woman through unsatisfied cravings. I told her bluntly that I don't give a single fuck, if she can't keep to her word then I won't either and that she'll live without her craving. My son can't say the same with his allergy. She went back upstairs, packed her bag and came back down, grabbed the bag of food and left in a huff. My brother was at his interview and called me half an hour later to ask me what happened. He was upset with his wife but also with me because nothing happened and at the end of the day, my son is fine. I told my husband when he came back from work and he's completely on my side. Ada, mini update. Like some people had predicted in the comments on the other sub, Laura did go straight to my family and started complaining. She hadn't twisted anything, told them the full honest story and my mother was livid. She called me panting like she ran a marathon after she berated Laura to make sure my son is okay, so I can only imagine the riot act she read to her. Apparently, even my stepdad gave Laura one of his disapproving frowns. My brother came back in the evening to get his stuff since Laura had only packed hers for some reason. He apologized for what she did and said that he'll have a chat with her once she's calmed down. She's been inconsolable. He told me that she's been crying since she left my mom's house and that she now feels unwelcome and unloved in our family and he blames me for it. My husband butted in and told him that it's enough. That whatever she's feeling doesn't cover half of what we felt and that she needs to get over herself. That I've been scrubbing the house from top to bottom for hours because of her actions. I did get panicky and went on to deep clean the whole house, especially the kitchen, but anyway, my brother left after he said that there's no leveling with us when we're being this stubborn. Now that I've had time to get out of the state I was in, I do feel bad that she's distressed and feels unwelcome in our family. That was never my goal. I've been debating sending her an apology. Not for my actions because I stand by them but for the way I went about it. I shouldn't have allowed the stuff in our house in the first place and could have been calmer about it after I opened the fridge. Update. A lot of people asked me to update, so here it is. Warning. This is a long one and if I wasn't an AH before, I sure am now. So after my mom berated Laura and my brother yelled at my husband and I took the advice I was given and sent them a long text which ended up being a bit of a ramble about everything, how fucked the situation is, how we're disgusted by their stance and how we'll be going LC until we feel ready to be around them again. That was the day after my brother packed his bags and left. I was left to read and I thought that was that until a few days ago when I got a call from Laura. I thought about not answering it but curiosity got the better of me. When I picked up, Laura tried to make awkward small talk but I think she sensed I wasn't in the mood and got right to it. She apologized about her behavior, said she had no excuse other than her hormones and we ended up having a long chat about everything. By the end of it, I actually felt better and like we could get past it and work on our relationship. She also mentioned that she would still like for my family and I to come to her birthday dinner. It wasn't going to happen in a restaurant anymore. I guess the hotel stay ended up costing them a lot as some of you predicted, and that it was going to be at their house instead. I told her that I'll talk with my husband and get back to her. I also got a text from my brother apologizing and saying he was just trying to protect and stand by his wife. It was too soon to start mending things as my husband pointed out, but he left the choice up to me, and I honestly believed her apology because she had never acted like that before and she seemed actually ashamed of herself. Anyway, my sister, who was also apologized to BC, she also tore her a new one. And parents, also got an apology. Were also invited, but my sister's kids wanted a cousin sleepover instead of going with us, so after talking it over with my sister, we agreed for them to have one at my house. My babysitters for a year are my next door neighbors. They're sweet and responsible 16-year twins who live with their single mom. They usually team up and tackle my kids on date nights. There's a reason I'm mentioning this. With my sister's added 2 kids to the mix, I asked their mom if she was free to join their duo and she agreed. So I called Laura and told her that Richard and I are coming. When we got to their house, Laura greeted my husband and I at the door. We handed her the gift and went in, but she seemed puzzled that we didn't have a trail of kids with us, so I reminded her that it's just us adults tonight. Same thing happened when my sister and her husband walked in. Dinner was awkward. No matter how we tried to lighten up the mood, and the conversation was stilted at best, but I thought it was at least a step forward. Laura asked this time about why the kids were not with us, that she had made special food for them. I never mentioned the kids when I got back to her, just my husband and I, but I felt like it was my fault that I didn't clarify, and so I apologized for it and thanked her for thinking of them. My sister chimed in that her kids and mine were having a cousin's sleepover tonight and how she was excited about our soon-to-be nephew to join them when he's here and older. Laura looked at her with a smile and said, "Yeah, I'm sure he'll be best friends with his cousins, as in my kids, and his step-cousins, as in my sisters." This pissed me off because we don't step anything with the kids, but I bit my tongue. For context, my sister is technically my stepsister. I know I used stepdad in my first post. I usually call him by his first name. I consider him a parental figure since he raised me since I was 10, but I had a dad and the title will always be his. My sister gave her a hurt look, but it was my brother who nudged his wife with a, "What are you doing?" look. A few minutes went by again with eating and light convo before Laura asked again about our kids, mainly who was watching them since all 4 parents are here. I told her that my neighbor and her daughters are babysitting, to which she laughed at and joked about how incompetent the girls and their mom must be to need all 3 of them to wrangle the kids. Also for context, I have 4 kids. I'm biased and like to think they're well behaved, but they're sometimes too much for one person to handle. Even me, and I'm the one that brought them into this world. Add my sister's 2 kids and it's a lot for 2 teenage girls to handle even for just a few hours. We left at 7, it said we'll be back at 11. It has absolutely nothing to do with the girls whom my kids adore or their mom who is as kind as they come. Before I could retort anything, my mom stepped in with one of her smiles and told Laura that it's so kind of her to offer her own competence and watch the kids next time. That shut her up real fast. After that, dinner was even more awkward until we cleared the table and Laura brought out dessert while my brother got the cake from the fridge. Here's where I lost the last of my remaining brain cells. I went to the bathroom and when I came out, I saw my husband carrying my bag and trying to usher me out of the front door to leave. He looked pissed and I was beyond confused, and obviously resisted because yes, the dinner is a train wreck, but let me at least say goodbye and give a lame excuse for our departure. When my husband tried to literally carry me out, I knew something was wrong, and after a couple of tries, I darted past him back to the dining room. Laura's now ready dessert table consisted of PB cake pops, PB pie, PB cookies, PB brownies, and top it all off, a PB birthday cake that my brother brought in and was sniffing at with a horrified look. Laura then gave me a big smile and said loudly to my family, "I thought I should at least get to have my cravings on my birthday. Get your fill before she throws these out too." I honestly thought for a second that my sister was going to tackle her, and I wasn't that far behind her because all I could think about was the fact that she thought my kids were coming and she planned this accordingly. I felt so guilty for allowing the stuff in our house the last time, and if my sister's kids hadn't wanted the sleepover, I was going to walk my son into danger a second time. I lost my shit. Without thinking about my actions, I grabbed Laura's head, forced her to talk towards my brother, who I think was too shocked to react, and slammed her head straight into the cake. I held it down as long as I could while she flailed and told her I hope she chokes on her cravings before I let her go. I honestly wanted to go for the pie too, but I had embarrassed myself enough by acting like that in the first place, so I told my brother that I'm done with both him and his wife, and if they try to contact me or my family again, I'm filing for a protective order. Then I let my husband lead me out. My sister was cackling as she followed us with her husband, but our parents stayed back. I heard Laura screaming profanities after us, but my stepdad raised his voice, which shut her up. I got a lot of jokes about his frown on my first post, but the man is as stoic as they come. Him showing any emotion is a big deal. I remember that his frown alone growing up was enough to literally stop my sister and I in our tracks because we knew if he gave us one that we messed up. I haven't asked my mom what happened after we left because I can't handle any more heartache from my brother or his actions. I don't think this was the update anyone wanted, least of all me, but I'm completely done with both of them. Even though my brother looked like he had no idea, the stuff was in his house, happening under his damn roof. I'm sad I won't be in my nephew's life and my kids won't get to know the new cousin they've been waiting for, but I'd rather cry over that than over my son's life. I don't expect anyone to be kind in the comments. I'm 32, I shouldn't have been so naive and I know I shouldn't have reacted like that, and I'm going to be dealing with that with my therapist along with the guilt I'm feeling, but please take it easy on me, I'm still shaken up. I'm also looking into family therapy for my kids so they can better process not having their uncle and aunt around after them having been a close presence in their lives. Now to the next story, story 2. My wife and the mother of our 3 kids is cheating on me and she thinks I don't know. What should I do now? Original post. I don't even know how to start all of this. I feel like I will faint. I have been married to my wife for 9 years, together 11. We are both from Europe, but not from the same country and currently live in Asia. We have lived in Asia for the last 10 years, but in this country we are living for the last 8. We have 3 kids, M8, M6, F3. My wife has not worked since our first son was born. I have permanent residence in the country where we live and she and my kids are allowed by the law to stay with me even though they are not citizens and she is not working. Marriage is in my eyes pretty good. We had some fights in these 9 years but nothing special. I work 5 days per week from 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. She never told me she feels lonely, or not loved or bored. She has her routine. Oldest son goes to school, my younger son goes to preschool and my daughter goes to kindergarten. She drives them every day to school and picks them after. Makes lunch and waits for me. We would go on vacations, trips, holidays. Dates every weekend. I have never ever thought she is doing something behind my back. We also have an open phone policy, but I don't remember when I checked her phone before all of this. I don't think I've used it 5 times in my life. This Wednesday I came to our house and parked the car outside. I don't think she heard me. But I heard her talking with someone about how she misses that person and can't wait to see it this week. I don't know if she heard me or saw my car, but literally 5 seconds after she said that she hung up the call. I asked her who that was and she said it's one of her friends who is currently on the trip. To be fair, I didn't suspect it was AP. I know, I am an idiot, but I couldn't imagine that. Also, that friend was really on the trip, which I know. But the things were off. She was trying that day too much. She was always nice and was in a good mood, but that day everything was a little bit too much. I had a really weird feeling, but I said I will wait until the next day and I'm probably making things up in my head. I came to work on Thursday and was just asking myself, am I paranoid or what? It bothered me why she ended the call immediately when I was in the house if that was her friend. During the day I called her and asked where she was. She said she was in the house but I heard noises around her. I seriously thought she was cheating on me. I left work and jumped in the car and went to my house. It's about a 30-minute drive. When I came she was not there. I called her again and wanted to ask her again where she was but didn't want to look suspicious, so I asked her if she could look at some things in the house. And while she was on the call she was saying she is checking those things. I knew then that she was cheating. I came home and she was lovely as always. Wanted to go out with me and the kids later. I seriously don't know how I remained calm then and how I didn't kick her out immediately. And I pretended the rest of the day that I was just tired. Yesterday I told everything to my best friend. He was furious when I was waiting and that I should confront her right away. But I didn't have any evidence. I said I will look at her phone and laptop when she goes to sleep. When I came home she was behaving well. We even had sex. I think if I stay under the shower for 10 months it will not be enough. I wasn't in the mood and she asked me if everything was okay and I said it's just too much stress at work. She hugged me and went to sleep saying everything is okay. During the night I checked her phone. I don't know if she was that stupid or so sure I won't see messages, but she didn't delete anything. They were hidden, but not deleted. I had about 30-40 minutes to look because she woke up. AP is some kid. I mean, technically not a kid, but he is younger than me. I would say 23, 27. I checked his IG and he is apparently some fuckboy. He follows 80% girls. Tattoos, jewelry, muscles, and he is white. So he is not a local guy. To be honest, he is attractive. I can't lie, attractive enough for her to ruin marriage and family. By his name I would say he is from Europe also, but I'm not sure. He seems to have a lot of cash. I don't know if he is some daddy's boy or what, but I can see he has 2 supercars, travels the world and posts pictures from going to parties weekly. They were physical at least 4, 5 times. She sent him so many nudes almost all during the morning when she was alone and without kids near her. It seems this is going on for about a month. I have no idea how they meet. She was going out last month sometimes, as she would say, on girls' nights. And I never checked her. Probably then somewhere. She was initiating meetings and conversations almost every time. He either doesn't like her enough or acts like he doesn't care, so I think she feels that and tries a lot. They had sex 2 times during the evening when she told me she was with her friend, and the rest of the time in the morning at his place. When I was in the house 2 days before, she wasn't with him but wanted to be, but he said he was busy and she was already in the city. I said to myself I will not say anything to her. We woke up today. I wasn't working. She wanted to spend time with me, but I was in my home office most of the day thinking, how TF can this happen to me? I went out tonight for dinner with my best friend and showed him everything. To be honest, I have no idea what to do right now. I will definitely divorce her. OFC, I will contact a lawyer tomorrow. Now it is late night here, even though it's Sunday. My biggest problem is that we live in a foreign country. On a different continent. I have a feeling if we divorce she will go back to her country with kids. I can't allow that. House, both cars are all in my name and paid by me. We have a significant amount in the joint account. I have my own bank account where I have savings. She doesn't have her own account. I also have 1 house and 1 property in my country that my grandparents gave me during our marriage. It's in my name. Now what to do? I can't stand near her anymore. I want to confront her. Do I confront or talk with AP? Maybe he has a wife, doubt it. Do I kick her out of the house or do I leave? Obviously if we don't have kids everything would be easier, but I love my kids more than anything and I will fight for them staying here. I will also make a DNA test even though I'm pretty sure they are mine, but you never know. Good Lord, I can't believe what I'm writing. Anyway, any advice is more than welcomed. I only said this to my best friend. I am too embarrassed to say this to anyone else. I plan to confront her today, Sunday. Thank you. Update 1. Hi everyone. A lot of you asked me for the update. There is some very good and some not very good news. First of all, I want to clarify some things. I received many messages and comments about this. My wife is both from Europe, not from the same country. We are 11 years together, 9 years married. We met in my country. Then after a year of relationship I received a job offer in Asia. She went with me. But since we weren't married she couldn't get a proper visa. She didn't work at that time. She was flying out and flying back in the country and she was on a tourist visa. About a year after we moved to Asia we married there. And then a year after she married me, we moved to another country in Asia where we have lived for the last 8 years. So 10 years in total in Asia. I lived first 2 in one country where we had a wedding. Last 8 years in the country where we are currently. A lot of you asked me where exactly AP lives. I am not sure if AP lives here the whole year or not, but I think he does. It's a huge city and there are a lot of foreigners here, and his apartment is in a downtown area where there are a lot of foreigners. Also, a lot of you asked me to give her another chance and go on the MC because of kids. I respect your opinions and everyone is different. Someone can forgive a 10 years affair, someone can't forgive innocent texting with an unknown man. I don't forgive something like this. I don't know what needs to happen for me to consider R with her. If I was a bad husband, if I didn't take care of her, if our sex life was dead. If she ever told me she is not happy, I would at least understand why she did that. But it is quite the opposite. Sex life 4, 5 times per week, she is always smiling and literally since I know her says she is happy. We always spend time together, she never avoids me or becomes angry at me. So yeah, my answer is no. Only if my kids beg me and suffer so much I might live with her for some time, but I will never ever touch her again. I called the lawyer here today. Told him I really want to meet him and I can pay more since it's a Sunday and I assume it's his free time. Lawyer was really nice on the phone and we met after lunch. I showed him and explained everything to him. The news are this, all the assets I have here are completely mine. She doesn't have any rights on that currently. She is on a spousal, family visa here, doesn't work, not a citizen, while I have permanent residency. Since everything has been paid by me and everything is on my name, I am the owner of everything. All the money in the bank is mine. He advised me to take all the money from the joint account and transfer it to another bank account where she doesn't have access. Joint account is in my name but she has credit debit cards and uses it daily for everything for the house/kids/her. So technically she doesn't have any right on that money. Cars are the same story because they are all in my name and paid for by me with clear evidence that I paid for it. The bad news are about the most important thing. Kids. Since, I repeat again, she is on the spousal visa, if we divorce she can't stay here anymore. She needs to find a job or be on a tourist visa. She can't use tourist visas forever and sooner or later someone at the immigration will stop her and deny her entry. My kids can stay with me on the family visa. Things become very tough right here about divorce. Basically 4 countries are involved. 2 home countries, the country where we married each other and the country where we are now. If we divorce in Asia there are big chances I will be the primary custody parent. At worst we will share the custody. But if we divorce in Europe I am basically fucked. And most likely I will have to return if I want to be near my kids. He also told me about the idea that I offer her some assets or money to make a deal that kids stay in Asia with me, but I doubt she would accept that. If I kick her out of the house and the police get involved I won't have problems. Since I have proof I am the father, even if the police get involved kids will stay at my house. Passports are safe and she doesn't know where I hid them. Lawyer told me to make DNA tests for the kids and to not leave the house so my wife can stay with them. I will do DNA tests tomorrow. In the meantime he will start making everything about the divorce. After we get results from the DNA test she will be served. All in all, a very tough and complex situation, but I will fight. I also talked with a lawyer from my home country. He told me if my wife somehow takes the kids from me and goes back to Europe while we are still not divorced I need to file the report with the police immediately in the country where we live and more importantly in my home country. Since both of our home countries are in the European Union laws are very similar. If she does that, the police will be at her door very soon. So that's good. I didn't confront her. She was actually mad at me most of the day because I went out to meet the lawyer and I spent time in my home office and according to her this is the day for us. I seriously don't know how I can contain myself to not tell her anything. She spent the last 2 days at home. Probably she waits tomorrow to call the AP. She behaves well. An hour later, she apologized to me for her being angry at me today and tried to kiss me. I am trying everything to avoid her as much as possible. Hopefully, I will go to bed when she is already asleep. Tomorrow I will make DNA tests for all the kids. Lawyer told me he will call me with all details for the best options for the divorce. I will ask for some free days at work and after that I will confront her and her lawyer told me to record everything he says. Thank you so much for your messages and comments. Your advice helped me a lot. Thank you once again. Update 2, first of all I want to say something. I am reading all of your comments or most of them. What some of you can write is just pure craziness. Stop putting your own words and stories in my mouth. I have never ever said I want to see my wife out of the country where we live right now. If there is one person in the world that wants her to stay here that's me then. Because that means my kids are staying. I will offer her the best deal that will allow her to stay here but that deal includes divorce. If she rejects it then we will fight for custody. I am not the one who should fight for her future. I didn't do shit to her. According to some of you I should go back to Europe, in her country. I've been there 4 times in my life. I have to leave everything I have built in Asia so I could see my kids 3 days per week while I didn't do anything. She did. She cheated on me and I should destroy everything I have so she could be in the nice spot. Because I am the father and she is cheating the mother. Or even better, I should not divorce her so she can stay here because she was cheating and doesn't know how to keep her legs closed and I need to suffer and never meet anyone else in my life. Brilliant logic. Maybe she can find the job here and stay in the country legally and with the kids that have everything. Huh, that's also not okay? Poor her, she needs to work. Some of you said she gave up on her career because of me and kids. Again, you're making stories without knowing anything. She didn't give up on anything. I was the one telling her if she wants to work, she finished only high school, she can and I will hire the nanny. But she didn't want to because she probably needed time for her AP. I am not forcing her out of the country. Immigration will force her if we divorce and she doesn't have a job. That's normal in every country. I am not above the law. She can find a job and stay with the kids because the best for kids is to stay here. She should do everything to be near kids. In the end, I love our kids more than she does because I didn't ruin our family, she did. Not to mention my kids don't know anyone in her country except her family. Don't speak her language and have friends and go to school kindergarten here. Well, if you ever experience something like this in your life you can use your logic, I will stick with mine. So to conclude this rant I will offer her the deal with the kids staying here. She stays here but not with me. If she rejects it we go to court and we will see what the judge will say. I also never said if we divorce she will not get anything. She will, but not as much as she would get in Europe, and I honestly don't care if I lose money, house or whatever if my kids stay here. I could transfer ownership of my house on my brother, cars, send all the money as a gift loan to him or to my parents like my lawyer told me to do if I want to keep everything after the divorce, because at this moment she is not entitled at anything before the divorce since she doesn't even have residency status here, let alone citizenship, and everything is in my name. So I can do that before I file for the divorce and she will get huge nothing here. But I am not doing that. I will earn that money back in a few years max, but my kids are forever. Now news and long updates. Yesterday I had long talks with my lawyer. He will make everything so we can divorce here where we live. It will be a tough process, but we are ready. He also gave me the contact of the lawyer in the country where we married each other. That lawyer told me that according to everything I told him, I'm in a great position. So I am literally building 2 cases if I need to. I need to divorce in Asia, not in Europe. If I divorce in the country where we live or where we married each other, there are huge chances kids will stay with me. EU courts have 0 rights or jurisdiction here, so if she ever thinks to send kids in Europe with her, she can only dream. The court, according to my lawyers, would keep kids here because 2 of 3 my kids are already in the school, spent whole life here. I am working. She doesn't. I have house, financial power for their good life and residency status. My wife could ask for the appeal in her own country where she would have bigger chances, but that process could go for years and I can delay it also in the multiple ways, and my kids would not be allowed to leave the country where we are without me allowing that. So that's great. I sent all the details about the house, cars and bank accounts to my lawyer and he is building the case. Also, I agreed with him that we make a deal for her. She can keep the house and car, but I will be the primary custody parent. Or I keep the house and I will pay for the place where she can live and we share the custody. Anything else I don't accept. When I came back home from work, she was waiting for me with the kids. Again, she looked good. We went out as a family during the evening. I had a great time with the kids. I couldn't stand her. When we came home, she tried to initiate sex, but I politely refused. She was laughing while talking about some nice moments in our past most of the night in bed, so I had to ask myself if she was completely out of her mind. Today she drove our kids to school and kindergarten before I left the house. I took all the papers I needed, suit, some clothes, and left. I decided yesterday that I will not confront her directly because of the kids. They are always near us and I don't want them to have trauma because of this. While I was at work, she was texting me about plans for us tonight. I was acting like everything was fine because I thought she might come to my work if I confronted her already, and that would cause me huge problems at my work. When she texted me at 3 p.m. that the kids are home and that they are all eating, I knew that's the moment. I finished the job shortly after. I left her some money on the joint, mine, but she has access account and took everything else to my other bank account. I sent her the text at 4:05 p.m. The funniest thing, with all the evidence I have, I still can't believe this is the reality. 11 years. I want to tell you so many things right now, but I am so disgusted by you that I just want this to end as soon as possible. You made your choice, now I am making mine. You can stay tonight. Tomorrow, after the kids leave for school, I want you to see out of my house. Don't try to do something stupid with the kids, you will just have bigger problems. I am ready for every scenario. My lawyers are ready. Be normal and we can end this in the most normal way, everything else will just put you in the worst position possible. In the end, I can't say I want you all the best, but if your best is away from me, then I want you all the best. Don't call me, and I repeat, don't do something stupid because I will not tolerate that. My lawyer will contact you about the kids immediately when you leave my house. You can meet and be with them every day, but you are not allowed to enter my property after everything you did. P.S. You look good in those nudes pictures you sent to AP. She was online when I sent her the message but didn't respond or call for the next 20 minutes. I wish I could see her face during those 20 minutes. During those 20 minutes I called the AP. He rejected the call and sent the message asking who it was. I called again and he answered. I told him that I will not do anything to him. I just want normal talk, and if he has any human decency he will meet with me wherever and whenever he wants. Whole day I thought he would reject the possible meeting, but he apologized to me and asked me where I was. I explained to him, he told me where he was, and we decided to meet at 5:30 p.m. in a bar near his flat. When my wife started to call me, I put the phone in airplane mode. AP was waiting for me. I saw that he was looking at me from 10 m away at least. I was audio recording the meeting. OFC, he knew how I look. I mean, my wife has pictures with me on her IG and us as a profile picture on WhatsApp and Line. What a lovely wife. He immediately asked me if he said everything, and after that I could ask him whatever I wanted. I told him he can, but after he says everything about him. He's 26 years old, he is from one country in Europe as I assumed. He doesn't have any GF or wife. No kids. He lives here the whole year and just enjoys his life. He looks good. He is an attractive young guy and seems like someone who only wants to bang girls. Then he started to talk about how he met my wife. They were in one restaurant club in the early August. He was with friends, she was with friends. I knew about this because she asked me if she would go out with her friends. After some time they all started to sit together. They talked a little bit, he told his IG when some of wife's friends asked. He says she wasn't flirty that day. He saw her ring and assumed she was married and didn't want anything. He showed me messages with her from other apps that I didn't know to see. She started to talk a little and after that they talked more and more. She said she loves me but that I have cheated on her. I've never looked let alone touched another woman since I met her. Before a month and that is her revenge, when I saw that I wanted to vomit. She was saying this before or after the first time they were physical. He told me they had sex 4 times, 1 round. Whenever they would meet she would be nervous after the sex and would always say this is wrong and she would leave shortly after. He was confused with her behavior and even texted her to not meet anymore. According to him she cried last time and said this is over and that she made the worst mistakes in her life. She loves me and even though I cheated on her. This is not okay. She wrote to him that she liked the attention and that he picked her even though she is 9 years older before some single friends of her but that she doesn't have any emotional love for him but she has for me. Lucky me. Last Thursday when I came into the house in the middle of the work to catch her and found the empty house and caught her lying to me, she called him to meet. This guy actually told me with a straight face that he wanted to have sex with her that day. I mean, he has balls. He was busy somewhere and she was waiting for him in the lobby of the building where he lives. He thought she came because of sex but according to him she rejected him and told him they were done. She told him to not call her anymore and that she will never stop regretting everything that she did. She also asked him to not say a thing to anyone. He showed me messages after the meeting where she said almost the same thing because he was confused, so he asked her again if she's sure. She blocked him after that on everything and never called again. Probably she deleted all these messages because I didn't see those messages on her phone. Did she forget to delete those hidden messages I actually saw? I have no idea. I don't know if he is lying but I don't think he does. He doesn't have any reason to defend her because he actually said a lot of bad things about her and gave me every evidence I needed. He showed me literally every message, he said about every disgusting detail. He even told me one of my wife's friends knew about them. So he told me basically more than I wanted. While we were talking my wife called him. He showed me and asked me if I wanted him to answer. I told him to not answer. She started to send him messages and voice messages. Some of the quoted messages are voice messages where she screamed like a lunatic. Her, where is he? Why did you tell him? I hate it, you destroyed my life, where is he? Him, what are you talking about? Why are you attacking me when you lied to me and him? Her, how does he know? He left me. You destroyed me. I told you we are over, why did you do this? Where is he? I am trying to find him. Him. I didn't tell him anything. I didn't do anything. You are married. Her, I made mistakes but I don't love you. I love my husband, I don't love you. I never loved anyone except him, I made the worst mistake in my life. I never liked you except for fun. I wish I never met you. Him, I really don't care who you love, but why did you lie to me? Her, I didn't lie about anything. I really love my husband and he left me now. I don't want to live, he left me. Him, I am not talking about that. You lied, he cheated on you and that's why you are doing this. How many guys have you been behind his back saying the same thing you told me? Her, eh? With 0, you are the first and last and I can't believe I did this. You told him and destroyed me because I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. Him, I don't give a damn what you want or not. I didn't tell him anything. Answer my question. Her, you told him, you're a horrible human being. Him, answer the question. Her, what question? Him, why did you lie he cheated on you? Her, because I am an idiot and liked the attention and lost control and now I lost everything. How does he know about this if you didn't tell him? Him, I didn't say anything and I need to go. Her, how do you know I lied about him if you didn't talk? I know you told him everything. I hate you, you destroyed me. Him, again, I didn't tell him anything but I hope he will not forgive you. She blocked him after this. I was just looking at him for 2 minutes without saying anything. I was close to starting to cry. He was apologizing like crazy and said if he knew that she is happily married he wouldn't do anything. He says I don't need to believe him but that's the truth. He told me he doesn't want anything with her and never planned. Also he sent me SS of all their messages immediately so I can have it during the divorce process. He asked me what I want to do with her in the marriage. I told him everything and he wished me and my kids best of luck and asked me if she called him or sent him any message. Do I want him to tell me? I said I wanted to. He told me if I need anything I can call him. We even shook hands. If someone told me before a week that I will DNA test my 3 kids and shake hands with my wife's lover, I would think I am high, but this is my life. In the end, it's not his fault. I didn't marry him. I sent the audio recording of the meeting and SS of their messages to my lawyer, and talked with him a little bit. He told me with everything AP said and messages that he sent me, it would increase even more my chances during the divorce. Now, I am in the hotel. I didn't block my wife. She sent me a billion messages and called me at least 100 times. Even my friends called me asking where I was because my wife told them we had a huge fight and I left the house. In the morning when my kids leave for school kindergarten, I will confront her eyes in eyes, and then in the afternoon I will DNA test kids. I took some free days from work this week so I have time. That's it. I know some of you will tell me I shouldn't do this and that, but I'm trying my best. It's much easier to give advice from the phone than actually living this shit and going through a roller coaster of emotions. This is by far my worst period in my life, and I have been through some really shitty situations during my life. I don't know if I will update. Probably I will put in another sub or at my profile, but if I don't, just be smarter than I was. Thank you all and take care. Update 3, I will post here because I don't have time to deal with the trolls. Hey guys, a lot of you asked me for the update. I am really busy these days, but a lot of things have happened, so let me share because strangely enough I find writing about this very therapeutic. Okay, so my last update was when I was at the hotel. During that night my wife's best friend called me and said she will be near her with the kids. Me and her have a great relationship and she is in my eyes by far her best friend. She called me on Wednesday early in the morning that she is driving my kids for the school because my wife can't stop crying. I jumped in the car, picked my friend, witness, and we came to my house. Honestly, I can say it was much easier than I expected to kick her out. Yeah, it wasn't the fastest process, 2 HRs, but at the end she left without police being involved. She cried, begged for forgiveness, she would explain everything to me, everything. She screamed, begged again, didn't listen to her friend, my lawyer. I even told her if she doesn't leave I will call the police and do everything in my power to deport her. Again, she didn't want to leave. She just wanted to talk with me. Then I just said to myself that I will lie to her. I told her to leave if she loves me so I can have space and that I will call her today when I think a little bit about everything. I just wanted her to see out of my property. She left with some clothes shortly after. Since then she has lived with her best friend. During the day I did most of the things I needed. Changed the locks at the house and at the gates of the property. Cut her off from everything that is on my name and she uses. I hired the babysitter Melody. On Monday I talked with my coworker, female. She also has younger kids and she recommended me to Melody. Melody doesn't work for her anymore because my coworker's husband is now working from home so they don't need her anymore. Melody is really nice. She is also from Asia, speaks great English and local language. She drives, cooks, cleans, CV is good, no criminal record, so I agreed that she works for me. I also tested my kids and myself for STDs. My kids asked me after school where my wife is. I told them we will be separated for now. They had some questions. I told them if they wanted to talk or see her just let me know. Both of my sons said it's okay and that was that. They met Melody and they looked normal around her. My wife called me the whole day and again sent so many messages. Then on Thursday I had another chaos with her. I drove my kids to school and my daughter to kindergarten. I came back home. I was doing some things on the PC, Melody was doing chores, and then I had a call from the school where both of my sons go. The principal called me and said my wife wanted to see my older son during the class and that security stopped her. She made the scene and said to her that she didn't see her kids for 2 days. Again, I jumped immediately in the car. I needed at least 30 minutes to get there. During those 30 minutes the principal called me again and said she talked with my wife again and that she and a psychologist in the school contacted Child Protective Service, CPS, because apparently that's the law where we live. It's not, in these situations. When I came to the school my wife again wanted me to talk to her. Begged, cried, same all. All of that in front of people from the school. They explained to me that my wife told them she didn't see kids for 2 days and is scared. Then one woman arrived from the CPS. She started to attack me immediately. How can I just steal kids from their mom? I was shocked. She was accusing me like I am some kind of drug dealer. To be honest, my wife did defend me in front of them. She said I didn't steal kids and I didn't forbid her to do anything, but she wanted to see them now because I kicked her out of the house. She just wants to come back in the house, will do anything blah blah blah. When she said that woman from the CPS and the principal attacked me again. They even suggested my wife to call the police because they assumed I kicked her out without anything and that I was aggressive. When I heard that, I had enough. I called the lawyer immediately. He was busy but told me he will come and not speak with them. I was waiting for him and didn't say a word. My wife explained to everyone what happened in our lives. She was more or less honest, and again she said she will do this and that, I need to forgive her, she loves me, blah blah blah. While she was saying that, literally everyone gave her support. I was just speechless. Then when she tried to hug me or kiss, I pushed her away, and this woman from the CPS said that I have clear signs of an abuser. I was so close to saying a lot of things, but again I didn't say anything. My wife told her that's not true and that I have never ever raised my voice, let alone hand it to her, and it's her fault, but she loves me and can't live without me. Before my lawyer came, another woman from CPS arrived, and she was the same as the first one. I am the worst, I am horrible, my wife is sweet and innocent. Whatever. My lawyer came and he was furious with them. He showed all the details about me. About my wife. Mostly immigration details. He said she doesn't work, doesn't have a place to live, might be deported and is mentally unstable and is not the right person to be around my kids. He told them about some articles in the law that they can't do this and that this is against the law. While he was speaking, my wife realized he is my divorce lawyer and started to attack him on how he can be so cruel and without heart. The principal told her and me to leave the office while they were talking inside. We were in the hallway. Again she cries, tries to talk with me. I was just looking at the security guy who was 100% laughing inside himself with what kind of lunatic I needed to deal with. The principal left the office and went to bring my kids. My older son asked me what was going on, I just told him to answer what they asked him and that's it. After maybe 3 minutes, the principal called us to come into the office. That first cow from the CPS said the kids said everything and that they have the most important details. I asked them what details, and she said both of my sons said they want to stay with me and that they enjoy being with me. They repeated the same in front of me and my wife. My wife for the 100th time started to cry again. My older son even moved a little bit so she couldn't hug him. They left after that. These women from CPS said me and my wife need to make a deal for the kids. I said we will after I solve everything that I need. And then she gave me a paper and told me to sign. It was in the local language, so I needed a little bit of time to read all of that. So my lawyer took that paper and told me to not sign. They wanted me to sign that so they have legal grounds to visit my home every week uninvited to see how I'm doing with the kids. My lawyer attacked them that they are doing this for their bonuses and that they don't have any legal right to ask me to sign this and that they can call whoever they want. They said they will contact their supervisors and that the police will probably contact me. I left immediately. No one contacted me still. My wife stormed after me and begged me again to talk. I just drove off. When my kids came home, I talked with them about everything what happened. They told me they heard my wife in the Tuesday when I sent her that message how she cries and begs me to listen to her, so they know it's her fault. Smart little kids. I drove them to football practice. My daughter was with Melody. She likes her a lot. My sons even helped Melody to clean after they ate, and they wouldn't do that with my wife, so I think deep down they know they need to behave as best as possible and help me during this time. Again, my wife calls me 24/7. I think she should be in the Guinness World Records for the most calls made and messages sent. Today was a much better day. Everything in the school was good. My daughter stayed at home because they have a free day today. Melody is making her hair, they sing, they are a great duo for now. My wife's friend called me in the afternoon saying that my wife wants to see kids. I told her it's okay. They arrived and my wife immediately saw I changed the gates. My daughter was very happy to see her. Wife was crying when she saw her. She was waiting for my sons. And both of them told her they don't want to be with her now. I told them to talk a little bit with her because she was crying literally on the street, but they refused and went into their bedroom and later to play with their friends on the street. I told her to leave and she begged me again to give her a chance to tell me everything. I told her that she needs to wait to talk with me until I receive DNA tests. She put my daughter on the ground and just looked at me for 10 seconds completely frozen. Honestly, I thought at those moments kids are not mine. She was shocked and said kids are mine and she can't believe I'm saying this. I really think this was the moment when she finally realized what she did. She told me again that the kids are mine and she jumped in the car. I talked a little bit with her friend and I could see my wife was crying like crazy. They left after that. My wife's friend brought my daughter back. She said my wife locked herself in the bedroom. She called her parents to confess everything and she is in a state of shock that I've tested our kids. Kids are mine, She never looked at anyone during the marriage except AP. My wife told her friend that she can't believe what she did and that she knows now she lost everything when I did the DNA test because that's very extreme and she thinks I don't trust her anything. Her parents called me tonight. To say they are furious is understatement. Her mom begged me to not cut the contact between them and my kids. I said they can always call them and come here but that I will not allow my kids to leave Asia before we divorce. She is fine with that and thanked me. Her father told me she is not welcome anymore in their home. They are disgusted she could do something like this and he told her to not call them anymore. They are very conservative, 40 plus years in the marriage so this was kinda expected. Her older brother told me the same. That he blocked her and that he is disgusted that she is his sister. They all gave me full support and told me to inform them about everything. They FaceTimed a little bit with my kids and they had a good time. That's about that. Hopefully the weekend will be much easier. I am very tired. Mentally but physically also. We are going to watch a football game with my friend's family and hopefully my wife will give me some peace. Since I told her about DNA tests she didn't call me anymore, so that's at least something good. I am waiting for the DNA results. My younger son has 7th birthday next Saturday so that will also be one huge pain in the ass to be around my wife, but it is what it is. Thank you for your advice and nice words. Update 4. Hello. Yes, I am the father. I mean, I knew 99% of the kids were mine but you never know. In the end, I thought my wife was a loyal woman but she isn't. I can say I can breathe with the full lungs finally. Now everything is easier. When I received the results today I was so scared to read it. I needed to take 10 minutes before I actually saw the results. Damn, if someone told me this will be my life. But here we are. I started to work again today. Melody is taking care of everything. My friend and his wife are there to help her. She sent me pictures of my kids when she drove them from the school and when they were eating. She is really good and kids love her. Well, these last 5 days were really tough mentally so let me start. Weekend, my wife didn't call me at all since I told her about DNA tests. She was still sending me messages but didn't call. Her friend told me she looks like shit and behaves like she has a mental breakdown. She would send me about 30 messages per day, before it was 150, 200 at least. Mostly were something like this. Good morning, have a great day, I am so sorry for everything, please call me if you have any desire. I am so proud of you how you're taking care of everything. I can't express how sorry I am for everything. I wish I never went out that night, I wish I told you immediately. She would sometimes change the words, but the context would be the same. And she would send me some pictures of us and kids from the past, from the vacations, us all being on the couch, in the restaurants, etc. I have to say that until yesterday she would just FaceTime with my daughter, sons still refuse, every day, but she didn't come to pick her up. IDKY but as her friend says she just doesn't seem normal right now. Well, my brother called me on the Saturday. I didn't tell him or anyone in my family what was going on. Whenever they would call to see my kids, me and my wife I would have some excuse why my wife isn't near me. I knew she didn't tell them. Until she actually did. So my brother called me and he told me she confessed everything. He was shocked and couldn't believe it. He thought we were joking with him. Yes people, with all the evidence still no one can believe. I think people would rather believe she became president of the USA than this. That's how shocking and how big betrayal this is. My brother's wife is very close to my wife. After she heard about all of this she cut every contact with her, my brother did the same. At first I thought she did it because of me, to show me support even though as I said they are really close. But no. She did it also because she is also disgusted by her and doesn't want to see a person like her around my brother her husband. I actually laughed at this, but I appreciated the support. So my wife lost one of the last people she could call. My brother told me they will try to come to see me soon so I'm glad. Then my parents called me. My wife also told them everything. My father supports every decision I make and he tells me just to do the best for me and the kids. On the other hand my mother tells me I should forgive my wife because she is human and did the mistake. She is remorseful, ready to do anything and one mistake should not be enough to forget on 11 years of love and 3 kids she gave me. I told her immediately that it wasn't one mistake, but 4 mistakes in 1 month duration. Her answer was, you should ask yourself why she does that. Was everything okay with you two? I hung up immediately. I love my mom. After kids she is by far the most important person in my life and I would do everything for her. She saved my life when I was younger and had so many problems. If she wasn't my mother I would be in the grave or on the street and she is my guardian angel, but I just can't believe she could say something like that. Then my father attacked her. Why is she defending cheaters? My mother apologized immediately. She just thinks about what is best for my kids, and told me whatever I decide she also supports. I didn't have enough energy to talk anymore. Wife's parents and her brother still don't talk with her and actually told me that they will call her friend to tell her that they will send the remaining stuff she has in her own country to her and that she is not allowed to enter their house anymore. If we forget all of this, the weekend was actually really good. We went with my friend's family to watch a football game. Went shopping. The kids were laughing and smiling. That's what is most important. Now, another chaos with my wife. You remember how I told you she stopped calling me? It didn't last long. I need to add a little bit of context here. My first assistant at work for the last 16 months is Sarah, 29. She is a great worker, professional, very smart and kind person. But she is also really attractive, and since she moved here and since she works with me, also single. I told my wife about her before she started to work with me. My previous assistant was a guy. She was okay with that, nothing special, until she saw how she looks and that she is single. Then she became cautious. Irony, huh? Sarah would sometimes send me messages during the night, 9 p.m., and always about work, but she would wish me good night, as my wife would say, in a weird way, and my wife would be very angry and insecure about that. Irony, huh? 2.0. Then she would sometimes come to my workplace with the kids without calling me. I didn't have any problem with that since she would do this also before when I didn't work with Sarah, but now she was doing this firstly to see how me and Sarah would react. Anyway, with time her jealousy decreased because I assured her nothing was going on. But she was concerned about her intentions, and she would say she can see Sarah is eating me with the eyes, and my wife never liked her and was really cold whenever they two would be near each other. This Monday we had a really important event in our company. Sarah and I have always been in contact since I took days off from work. I told her it's about personal reasons and she wished me all the best. I didn't want to go to that event, but eventually they told me to come. I asked Sarah if she wanted me to pick her up. I know how this sounds, but I have my reasons why I asked her. Event was in the hall in the different part of the city, and I literally needed to drive near her apartment complex to come there. She doesn't drive. I never picked her up before because of my wife. She was working extra since I am at home, and she was doing basically my job for free and never said a thing. In the end, I don't need to explain anything to my wife. I can pick up 10000 girls now if I want. I picked her up, we talked, came to the event, we were on the same dinner table with 6 more people. I drove her back home, she wished me good night. I did the same and went home. Melody was there, I wished her good night. My kids were sleeping and I went into my bedroom. And then I went to see messages on WhatsApp. I turned off all notifications from Viber, Line, WhatsApp, Telegram, because my phone is melting when my wife starts with her calls and messages. And there I saw a lot of messages from my wife and her friend. I checked messages from her friend and basically she told me my wife is going crazy and having a mental breakdown because someone told her that me and Sarah were really close and enjoying time together at that event. I asked her immediately who told her that, and she told me she can't tell me. My wife was saying how I changed her for younger. Irony, huh? 3.0. Smarter and more attractive model. How my kids were going to have young stepmom who will be with me the whole day because we work together and are very likely already together. I just started to laugh and said that I don't have time for this nonsense. If there is one thing that I really don't care about now and is not on my mind, then it is having any relationship with any woman now. Even if I did something and I didn't, I don't owe her shit. I was loyal more than 11 years to her, and to be honest, I had much more situations where girls were approaching me thinking I'm single than guys looking approaching her, and she fucked up, not me. I went under the shower and I was just asking myself who told her this. My wife is not close to anyone from my work. She doesn't talk with anyone. The only person that knows about my situation from work is my female coworker that recommended me Melody. She is really close to me and she had horrible things to say about my wife after I told her everything, and she didn't say anything to anyone 100%. I just said to myself, someone from work that doesn't like me sent her message, probably from the burner account, and that's it. I called Sarah and told her we need to see each other tomorrow. And yesterday we went for coffee and I told her everything about my wife. She was shocked that someone could say something like that. I told her everything because of a few reasons. I expected my wife to call her and have another lunatic episode. Luckily she didn't. I wouldn't lose my job at all if this is even true between us, but I don't want someone to tell complete lies about me. Also, why would anyone lie about her? She is sleeping with her boss and that's why she has a job. And also I didn't want to hear any rumor that my infidelity is the reason for my divorce and that possibly can ruin my chances during divorce process. She told me she will tell me if she hears anything, and today when I returned to the job everything was perfect. My wife started to call me again every 5 minutes. She constantly cries, begs for a new chance. She will do everything, whatever I want. She came yesterday to see kids. My sons were at football practice, but she took our daughter. When she brought our daughter back, she tried to ask me a few questions about Sarah, but I left immediately. I don't need to explain myself to her at all. But the thing I do notice about her is that she definitely lost some weight. Her friend tells me my wife refuses to eat, and bags under her eyes look like she is a crackhead. On Friday, my younger son turned 7, but he will celebrate on Saturday with his friends and other kids in our house. My wife will be there, and her being around me for a few hours is one huge disaster in the making, but I will try to stay calm because of my kids. On Sunday, I plan to confront her one-on-one about DNA results and offer her a deal about her future, so I will update after that probably. I promised myself this won't be long, but it is long. Sorry guys, apparently I am not capable of making a long story short. Thank you for your nice messages and comments like always, and take care. Update 5. Hi everyone. I said I will update after I speak with my wife on Sunday about everything, but I actually already did it, or maybe did it. It will be a long post, so feel free to skip it. If no one reads it, I'm okay. I feel better when I write this because I'm feeling the worst ever, so at least I can vent here. On Thursday, my wife called me to ask if she could take our daughter for a sleepover. Our daughter doesn't go to the kindergarten on Fridays, so she is free. I told her she can. She came, and again she tried a little talk with me, but I didn't want anything. She wanted to talk, but I told her to leave, but she asked me if she could talk a little bit with our younger son since he will turn 7 tomorrow. I called him and he came. He was standing away from her, but he was listening to her. She told him how she already bought him gifts and how much she loves him. Eventually she hugged him and kissed him, but he didn't respond. He literally didn't say a word and just left while she was standing there. My older son still refuses to see her, let alone talk with her. She left with our daughter and promised they will be back by 5 p.m. tomorrow. So in about 24 hours they will be together. She was sending me a lot of pictures of how they are making pancakes, sleeping together and playing together. And also sent me so many messages saying how she regrets this is not happening with all 5 of us right now. Yesterday, Friday, my son became a grown man. My older son congratulated him. He was really happy and in a good mood. I drove them to school and went to work. While I was working, my wife called me again asking if she could spend the afternoon and evening with our son and daughter. She assumed older son would refuse. Again, I said she can. She was texting me through the day that she planned everything, and I know she was excited. They will go eat, then they will go to the amusement park, they will drive go-kart, then go on ice creams. I liked everything. To be honest, my younger son in my eyes suffers the most with this situation. While my daughter is very young and unaware of anything and sees her mother a lot, and my older son is very clear that he doesn't want to have contact with my wife, the younger son is very quiet and looks very confused. So I like the idea of them 3 spending time together. I specifically told her to not enter the house and wait for me because I need to talk with him first and I need to see his reaction. I don't want to force him on anything. She agreed and told me she will wait for me. I had to stay a little bit more at the workplace, and my friend and his wife were waiting for me in my house so they could go with me to buy everything I needed for the birthday. Food, drinks, cakes, gifts. I texted my wife and told her I left my workplace a little bit late and that there is big traffic in the city, so I will be late. She told me she is close to my house but she will wait for me. I called my friend and told him that my wife is coming. I also called Melody to prepare other clothes for my daughter and asked her what my sons are doing. Everything that happened after that I didn't see. Melody, a friend, and his wife told me this and I believe them 100%. My wife arrived with her friend and our daughter. Apparently my daughter invited her to the house to show her something, according to my wife's friend. My friend and his wife with my sons were inside of the house then. Melody was in the backyard and stopped her from entering the house. My wife started to fight with Melody. Who is she to forbid her to enter the house with her daughter? Friend's wife heard the noise and went out. Friend's wife and my wife were friends, but she doesn't talk with her anymore after I told her what happened. She told her to calm down and to respect my decision. Wife was much more calm and kind towards the friend's wife than she was with Melody. My daughter was then calling her again from the door to come, and they again stopped her from entering the house. My wife's friend told her to wait for me in the street. And then my older son stormed out of the house. Started to yell at her that no one loves her, to get out of here, that we are happy without her and daddy is happy without you. And that everyone hates her. She started to cry and begged him to talk with her, but he was yelling like crazy at her. She left the gifts for my younger son and went with her friend in the car. Then my older son took those gifts and threw them on the street while they were in the car. My friend then put him in the house. According to my friend's wife, My wife left crying like crazy. I came home, didn't see my wife, and then they told me everything. I couldn't believe it. All my kids were always kind, nice, not spoiled and never rude. My older son was always a little bit more connected with me, but he never ever told anything rude to my wife before all of this, and he always loved her so much. So I told him to come into my room. I literally asked him if he was normal. He apologized to me and said he couldn't listen to her anymore. I told him he should never ever talk like that with his mother, and that those gifts aren't for him, and that he doesn't need to apologize to me but to his mother and brother. He started to cry, saying I'm forcing him to call my wife and that he won't talk with her because he hates her. I was speechless. I know he needs therapy and I will solve that really soon. He apologized to his brother. Then I spoke with my younger son. I asked him if he wanted to see his mother on his birthday tomorrow, and he said he doesn't. I asked him a few times if he was sure, and he said he is. He also refused to see gifts from her and told me to give her back everything she bought. So I called my wife's friend to tell her about this. She told me my wife is having a panic attack and struggles to breathe. After 2 hours she called me saying that she needed to call 2 of her own friends because of my wife, and that she is sleeping now after she took some pills. Today when I woke up I saw messages from my wife. She basically told me she doesn't want to live anymore. She can't live without us and she wants to leave and leave me and our 3 kids alone. I called her and told her that I will send her pictures and videos from the birthday, but to not disturb me today, and that I will talk with both sons after this. She thanked me, and again she was saying how sorry she is. A lot of kids came on the birthday. Also friends from my older son and my daughter. So many parents. My friends with their kids. I was just looking at all those couples, how they are smiling and enjoying themselves while I'm trying to pretend everything is okay. What my life turned into. I really wanted to vomit then. I just wanted my birthday to finish as soon as possible. When Melody left as the last one and my kids were in the living room opening the gifts, I went in the garage and I called my wife. I told her to not interrupt me and to shut up. I was screaming, yelling, crying and sarcastically laughing for about 5 minutes. And I told her so many bad things. I didn't curse all the people in the world together as much as I did her. I told her the worst things. And I don't regret anything I said to her. She didn't interrupt me, but I could hear her crying. When I finished with my part, she just said, "I am so sorry, I will do anything," and kept crying. I wanted to break my phone at that moment. Just told her to fuck off and I ended the call. Now I am sitting in the dark bedroom and I'm writing this. I am just asking myself, what the fuck did I do to deserve this? Is this karma for my crazy behavior when I was younger? I guess I will never know. I was always a problematic kid. Good in school, horrible out of school. I was running from the house so I could be with my girlfriend. I was stealing money from the parents. My mom came up with the idea that I should start practicing Taekwondo so I could release all my energy there. Boy, she was wrong. I started to fight every day and I ended up in the police. Then I went to college. I became friends with the wrong people. I would have exams at 9 a.m. and I would stay in the casino till 6 a.m. playing poker tournaments or blackjack, or I would just drink and go to the nightclubs with the friends and girls. Then I met my wife. She came to work in my country. Some guys had eyes on her, but she was shy and I was a complete mess, but for some reason she liked me. 3 months later she had to go back to her country, but she decided to stay with me. She gave me almost all of her savings so I can pay my debts after about 5 months of relationship. I really thought she was insane for doing that. I still do, but she did change my life and I changed myself because of her. We left about 10 months later for Asia. I will never forget the first apartment where we lived. It was the biggest shithole I have ever lived or maybe even seen. I've no idea how we lived there for 8 months. But we were saving money and we were really happy. Now, I have a house, cars, money, and I'm not happy. I don't want to sound arrogant, but girls always says I'm good-looking guy in the great shape. I am working out 3-4 times per week. I have great job, career, and I know I can find new GF wife easily, but I seriously think I will never ever marry again. I will never trust anyone 100%. I know this might be a temporary feeling and that life is full of challenges and I should be happy because my kids, parents, brother, nephews, friends are all healthy and love me, but I am really tired and empty. Sometimes I just want to give up, but then I remember I have 3 kids. Everyone around me expects me to be some kind of magician who is expected to do everything good for everyone around me. Everyone expects me to suffer in silence and to not say a shit what is going through my head. Do best for your kids. Take care of your wife. Maybe she will do something to herself. Do that, don't do that. Forgive her, go on MC. Don't forgive her, destroy her. Forgive her because of the kids, and in some time you will love her again. Fuck her, don't forgive her, kids are better with you and without her. I am so tired, tomorrow is just a day for me and the kids. Thank you all. Update 6. Hey guys, a lot of you are messaging me. Everything is alright. Firstly, thank you for your concerns. To be honest with you, I don't know what to tell you. I guess everything is okay? Since I can't sleep, I decided to write this in this late hour. I am feeling much better than in Saturday. I haven't seen my wife since last Thursday. The last time my kids have seen her was on Friday when my son turned 7 and my older son kicked her out. She is still sending me messages and calling our daughter. Yesterday her friend brought me an envelope that my wife sent me. It was a 9-page letter plus 4 additional pages of her changes. She wrote a lot of that, so I will quote some of the parts. First 5 pages were basically just about our past, literally the timeline of our relationship. What we have been through, our best and worst moments, but how we always stuck together. Last 4 pages. I am embarrassed to say I'm sorry. I can't express how sorry I am. I understand it doesn't mean you too much, but I'm really sorry. I wish I could turn the time back. Seeing you and kids hurt really makes me want to die. I should be the person to help you, not to hurt you. I failed as a mother and wife. When D, older son, yelled at me, I really wished I was dead. What kind of mother does this to her kids? What kind of wife does this to her husband? I understand that you will never love me like you did. That you will not trust me like you did. When you told me you made DNA tests for all of our kids, my heart broke into pieces. That was the toughest moment in my life. That moment when you told me straight in the face that you don't believe me since we met each other and you will probably never believe me again. I need to live with that fact. I just want you to know that I love you. I know you don't think that, but I really love you. I would give my life now for you. I hope I can prove this somehow. I wish you could put my heart in some machine so you can get results to see that I love you. I always knew I love you more than anyone, but after everything I did, I know I love you even more than that. I understand how horrible this sounds, but this is the truth. I threw all of that for what? For a little bit of attention. I lied about you cheating on me so I can have excuses in mine and AP's eyes. Who does that? Only horrible and cruel people. I am really lost. But you are not. I wish I could tell you to be with some girl so we can be one. One, but the truth is we can never be one. One. Whatever you do will not be the same as what I did. Also, I can't imagine seeing you with another woman. I know this is again selfish, but I do love you and I can't accept that, and I hate myself that you don't believe me. I hate myself for whatever I say, or do you just ignore me and don't believe? I wish you broke every single bone inside me that day instead of this. I pray every day and night that you will call me and tell me to come back. I truly believe that day will come. If there is a 0.001% chance, I will believe. And I will never stop believing. I will accept whatever condition you make me return. I will sleep on the floor. I will clean, cook, wash, not talk with anyone. I will lick the floor if I need to. I just want to be near you. I will never understand why I did that. What did I achieve? I was telling Z, her married friend that knew about the affair, how I don't find AP more attractive than you. In my eyes, no one is more beautiful than you. How I love sex with you 1,000,000 times more than with him. And I still went there a few times. I am so sick. I know you don't want to hear this, but I felt like the biggest trash then, and with you like the happiest person. And again, I still did this. Since you left me, I ask myself, was everything okay with me back then? Sure, it wasn't, but when I try to remember everything, I feel like someone changed my head, like some type of drug was inside me to do that. I could never imagine myself doing that. Not even in the dreams. And I did that in reality and hurt the person I love the most. I really hope I will find the answer why I did this. I just hope you will not make your decision till then. You were always stronger than I was. I hope you will survive till then. If you want me to leave and stop calling, I will do that, but please don't forget about me. Don't give up on us like I did. I know this sounds horrible, but don't give up on us because of kids and everything we went through together. I know because of this my betrayal is even bigger, but I will do everything so we can be happy again wherever we will be. I am ready to follow you and be there for you 1,000 times more than I was till now. You know I would do and give everything for kids and you. You know how happy we were, but I destroyed everything. If you give me another chance, we will be happy again, because of you. We will have again like we had. I will show you for the rest of my life how sorry I am and that nothing and no one can stop my love for you. I understand you can say AP stopped, but he didn't. I never looked at AP like I was looking at you. I never touched him like I was touching you. I never even kissed him. I would never bring him near my kids. I would never ever tell him my secrets that I told you after a week of our relationship. I never smiled with him, but I was always smiling with you. I understand my actions tell a different story, but you were always the only man in my heart, and I will never stop hating myself for everything I did. I am so sorry for breaking your heart along with mine. This is something I will never ever forget, but I will live the rest of my life to be there for you and our angels in the best and worst, and I will appreciate every second with you more than ever. I love you more than anything, S. 2 additional pages were about her changes. She wrote this: I'm always telling you that I will do everything for you to forgive me, but I didn't actually do anything yet. Now I will make everything in my power so you can have some answers in your head and start believing me, and hopefully one day forgive me, at least in your mind, if not heart. She deleted her IG, TikTok, FB, and will never activate them again. I can just say finally. She is trying to find a job. She has only high school. She has less than 10% chances to find the job here, even as a cleaner, but respect for the hustle. She will write a full timeline about her affair. I really don't care about this. She will not force contact with our sons, but she will go on every football practice they have and watch them. She will come to every event in the school. If they tell her to leave, she will leave. She will send them a few letters per week and will bring their favorite food, snacks and toys a couple of times per week. Okay, I like this. She cut contact with the friend that knew about the affair and told her to not call her anymore. It's not her fault, but she can't ask for my forgiveness if she still keeps in contact with the person that encouraged her to prolong the affair. She told me she will tell friend's husband that she knows about everything if I want. I like this because I never liked that cow, and I honestly don't care if my husband knows or not. She will go on polygraph. She will answer about 20 questions about me, her and AP, and did she ever cheat me before. She is scheduled for 2 days. I am actually looking forward to this. I checked the reviews and it seems this agency is reliable. She will never ever leave the home without me. She says we can put the camera in our home so I can watch if she leaves. When I leave the house and I invite her with me, she will leave. If not, she will just be in the house around the kids. Yeah, this is insane. She will sign a postnup/deal/agreement that says if she ever makes any kind of infidelity, texting with unknown man, sexting, flirting, or PA, she is giving me full custody and leaving all the assets to me. I don't even know if this is possible, especially about kids. I know for assets it might be possible, but not so sure about kids. She starts going on IC this week. Whatever. She will not use phone anymore. If she does, she will not have a password and will delete and block all male, female contacts except us, family and 2 friends. She never had a password and I really don't care about her contacts. If we reconcile when she drives kids to the school and then goes to the supermarket, she will share her location and video record herself in the supermarket so I know she is not talking or meeting with anyone. Or she can order food directly to the house and I can see on the camera that she had contact with the delivery guy. As I said, insane. She started to listen to some podcasts from the ex-cheater and will purchase some books about infidelity. I can't express how much I don't care about this. There was also some other stuff, but it was literally so crazy. Like she will sell all her clothes and use that money for something else. If there is one thing about her that I still believe in, then it is that she doesn't care about money. She never ever bought herself any expensive piece of clothes, shoes, jewelry, bags, she just doesn't care about that. So if she sells everything, she wouldn't earn a lot. Also, she said when she finds a job she will buy food for herself and other things, so she will never take $1 from me. But my favorite is that she will sell her phone and start using an old phone like Nokia 3310. I would love to see that. At least she wouldn't be capable of sending me so many damn messages that fast. That's about that. Kids are okay. Doing as best as they can. I have a lot of things to do at my workplace, so I'm pretty busy. As I said, my wife still sends me messages where she wishes me good day, morning, night, and asks how kids are doing. She sends me some pictures from the past or how she had dreams about some moments of us, and of course how much she regrets and loves me. Both of my sons will start visiting a psychologist tomorrow. I hope I will find some answers after that. Maybe I will update after if she sends me polygraph results. Thank you as always. Update 7. My kids started to visit a psychologist and it's not good. I talked with the psychologist days before their first session and explained everything to her. We went for the first time on Wednesday. After the session she explained to me that my older son is really hurt with everything. According to her, he has hate towards my wife, his mother, but that is his defensive mechanism. On the other hand, my younger son, according to her, suffers even more. She told me she can see that he just behaves like his older brother. In his statements she can see that he doesn't have a bad opinion about my wife but follows my older son and talks and behaves like the older one does. She told me the next time she would like to talk with them one by one. So we went again yesterday. My older brother was the first, then my younger. Each talked for about 60 minutes. When my younger son was inside, me and the older boy went to eat while we were waiting for the younger son. I didn't want to ask him anything, but then he told me out of nowhere something like, "Dad, I don't like this woman. She is bored and tells me to cry, but I just want to go home and play with my friends." I tried to stay normal, but I started to laugh. He is really mini-me. Anyway, we went back to pick my younger son and then I talked with the psychologist. She told me straight away that my older son will need a lot of sessions. He is very protective of me and completely refuses to even acknowledge my wife. She is stunned that they had a perfect relationship and now that he behaves and talks like this. But she tells me he is 100% aware of what is happening and that my wife hurt me badly and that is his reason to be like this. She asked him if he has any desire to see her and he immediately said that he doesn't. Because of those answers she even asked me if I seeing some other woman and I was WTF. But then she shocked me for real when she said my younger self was in tears and finally opened himself. As we both thought, he follows my older son in his actions. Since all of this has happened, my older son was telling my younger son each day how my wife is cruel and evil and they need to support me. My younger son wanted to see her on his birthday and was sad when he saw her crying when my older son yelled at her. But didn't want to call her because he didn't want to disappoint me and my older son. He confessed to a psychologist that he misses her a lot. She told me I can call my wife next or another week so she can be in session with my younger son and I said that's fine. And she told me to talk with him when we come home because he feels very sad now. We came home and we talked. He told me basically the same thing he said to her. Apparently my older son even told him a few days before his birthday to not call my wife at all. That she doesn't deserve to be around us. My younger son didn't like how my wife talked with Melody, but he wanted her to be at his birthday party. So I told him immediately that I asked him a lot of times if he was sure to not invite her and every time he said he didn't want her. But again he explains he didn't want to disappoint us. I asked him what he wanted. Does he want to be with her? I told him he can be with her and I will visit him whenever I can daily. He immediately said no. He said he would like her to come back to live with us and he doesn't want to be with her without me. I told him he can tell me his true feelings and no one will be angry or disappointed and he said this is how he feels. He even started to cry, so I stopped with questions and told him to calm down. Then later I talked with the older one and he is just one piece of mystery. He admitted that he was telling bad things about my wife to my younger son because she deserves it. I asked him immediately why she deserves that and he responded quickly because she hurt me. So I'm up and down with him. I don't know if he knows something I don't. I mean, he will be 9 in December. He is a very smart kid and a great student, so I agree with the psychologist that he is aware of everything. I asked him if he wanted my wife to come back and he said no. My daughter is crazy about my wife, so no problem about her. I'm in contact with my wife but only with kids. She is begging for a new chance as always, sends long texts a few times per day. She called me today to say that her friend, not the married one that knew about AP, talked with her and he can find her job as a translator. My wife speaks perfect English and is fluent in the local language. She also reads and writes in local language perfectly and that's very tough. So she is very excited because of this, but even more because she would work mostly from the house and that is the most important to her because she can then prove me she is not doing anything except working. I didn't tell her anything about kids and psychologist. Also, on Wednesday when we finished with the psychologist I drove my kids to football practice. Then I received a message from her, "You look so hot in an all-black combination." I started to look around me because other parents were near me and I didn't see her. Then I noticed her on the opposite side of the practice ground. She promised in her changes that she will watch there every practice and if our sons ask her to leave she will leave. They didn't tell me anything, so I don't think they even saw her. All of this is positive from her, can't lie about that. I also talked with my lawyer and asked him about that postnup deal she told me. He said it is possible in the country where we live since according to law one of the parents needs to be foreigner to put infidelity clause in child custody and postnup. I was shocked to hear this even though I've read some positive stories about this in recent days. But then while he was telling me this I asked myself, why the hell do I even talk about this? I don't plan to touch my wife. I don't care if she is with 5 guys now. Me and her as a husband and wife are done. Even if she comes back to my house it will be only because of kids. So whatever. He told me papers will be ready to serve her during the next week, but he told me to take some time and think good about everything and at the end decide what is the best for kids and myself. So that's about that. She saw our daughter today. They spent a few hours together. She told me she did an interview at the polygraph testing and will answer questions on Monday, and she already goes to IC meetings. I told her that a DGAF and she started to cry a little bit, that she doesn't know what to do and she is trying everything. I told her she knows what is the one thing she was never supposed to do and she did it, and I left. Tomorrow I plan to talk with my family, parents of my wife, friends, and then during the week with my kids and their psychologist, and then with my wife. I will wait to see how my kids will respond when I tell them she might never come back to this house. Also, I need to see how she will react when I tell her divorce papers are ready. Then her job. I need to wait for that to see if that will happen or not because of her visa. After all of this, I will decide what to do next week. My kids are my first priority. I am still very pro-divorce, but I am open to bringing her home for some time until she settles down and realizes we are done if my kids ask me that, or if their behavior is not good. If bringing her home will help them, I will do it. Thank you. Now to the next story, Story 3. After discovering my stepmom's secret Reddit account, I learned she hates me and my siblings, and it's completely shattered our family. Original post July 17, 2024. I'm really pissed off and want to vent. I even cried reading the things she said, and I don't know what to do. I don't need any advice, I just want to vent. My father has been married to my stepmother for 5 years. He has been divorced from my mother since my younger brother was 2 years old. There is no beef between them and they have a great co-parenting. I have a 17-year-old sister, a 16-year-old brother, and I'm 25. Then my father has a 3-year-old son with my stepmother. I found her Reddit account in a pretty random way. Since I'm only home on the weekends, I let her use my computer. She forgot to close her email. She doesn't post too much, but she comments too much. I was honestly going to close the email, but it caught my attention that all the replies were from step-parent subreddit, so curiosity won me over. I know, it's not a good thing to do, and curiosity killed the cat. The first thing I saw was her last post, in which she detailed things about my life in a random Reddit sub, criticizing my decisions and even lying to get people to support her. She has posts on that site talking about how happy she feels when my siblings are not at home. My sister adores her. But she has comments talking about how she can't wait for them to turn 18 and leave the house because she just wants to share the house with her family, my father and her toddler. It seems that she doesn't see us as her family. She has a lot of comments answering other people that it's totally okay to not love your stepchildren because they're not family, and it's okay not to consider them one. She has comments talking about how much it bothers her when my dad and brother have sleepovers. They just watch a series in the playroom and then go to sleep, as she is tired of hearing the laughter of a teenager and can't wait until we all leave the house so my father can be with his real family. But what she hates the most is having to learn sign language for my little sister. It had always seemed strange to me that SM still struggles with sign language, but now I know that she never really put in the effort to learn. My sister always said that for many people sign language is very difficult, so I never said anything. But now I know that she always found stupid to learn how to communicate with my sister when my sister always tried to help her. I was too surprised by the hatred she has when my father spends time with me and my sister. Her jealousy towards us is so obvious that it disgusts me that there were so many people who told her how they feel the same way about their SDs. To the point of sexualizing things. My siblings are not problem children. They even love her very much, and what fills me with anger the most is that she is so false in front of us. Do you know the number of times I offered to babysit my stepbrother so she and my dad can go on a date? All those times she refused to let me take care of him, but now I saw comments that she left about how I am living at my father's house and I don't help her at all, only for other people to respond saying that she should give my father an ultimatum to make me leave because I'm too old to live with him and he has a new family. I cook my food, do my laundry, share a room with my sister. I help my father pay the bills while she doesn't, and only come home on the weekends because I'm doing a police academy ALSOR full week. I don't even care if I'm making too obvious who I am. It was my father who told me to move back with him so that when I come back from the academy on Friday nights it will be a shorter trip. She sexualizes my interactions with my father, saying that it is not normal for me to sleep a nap hugging him and that I should know my place. He is my father. What the hell wrong with her? I'm so disgusted. Relevant comments. Grumble gal, this. Show your father what she really thinks of you all, because once you're all eventually out and she gets her wish, she's going to work double time to keep it that way and isolate him. Accurate neck. 6933. You won't get any inheritance. She will make sure of it. OOP, I don't think my father has anything to inherit to us. We all lose in that OOP on why she is in the police academy. OP, I live in a third world country. Half of my colleagues are women in vulnerable situations. The only way out they found was to get into the police because here you get free healthcare, education and money. Women who have left their children to walk forward in the only way they found. You demonstrate your privilege by criticizing and being judgmental about someone just because of their work without knowing everything behind it all. OOP on if she has had a relationship with her stepmom and if they have talked on a regular basis. OOP, honestly, I would have taken the time to sit down with her and chat about how she feels before I knew all of this. She's had years to adjust. But now? I don't give a shit about what feels a person who says I want to fuck my own father and that learning sign language is a waste of her time when my sister feels bad for not being able to communicate with her too much after years. Nothing. Nothing justifies being jealous of a daughter with her father, nothing justifies her comments. It's one thing to say you're stressed and another to make up things on the internet about your stepdaughter. I deleted the post, July 17, 2024. Hi, I decided to delete the post because for now I can't tell anyone what happened because I'll basically be locked up in the academy until Friday morning. In fact, I shouldn't even be using my cell phone now. Someone with too much free time shared the situation in that sub of step-parents to warn my SM. I have screenshots of everything, including a video showing that it is her email and showing the comments. If she sees that post, what will she do? Delete the account? I already have the proof. But I don't want my siblings to find out before I tell them, and I know that those types of posts usually end up in those TikTok that re-upload posts without permission, so I prefer to delete the post so that it doesn't stand out even more. Although my siblings don't use Reddit or that kind of content. I'm going to post again in that sub when I talk about everything with my family, so I hope Redditors know how to keep the secret of the post for now. I know they won't, hahaha. Being a stepmom is hard. Yes, one thing is feeling that you're having a hard time and another totally different thing is making a post saying that you hate it when your stepdaughter is around her father because you think she's going to *CK him, TF. It is not the same to say being a step-parent is stressful, than to say honestly learning SL is unnecessary. BC when the girl turns 18 I will not see her again. It is a waste of time since she can read lips. Also some people complained about me hugging my dad. I also take a nap hugging my mother or my siblings. I'm sorry for having a family that loves me and are not perverts who see a hug as something sexual. Probably next week I will be able to maybe give an update. The academy keeps me working almost all day. Comments elegant_crab_7500. Oh honey, my heart breaks for you. You do though, sound very mature and responsible. I have helped my sister raise my niece who is now 23 and is totally alienated from her dad, who left my sister for his now wife when my niece was only 10 months old. And step-family because her stepmom is much like yours but has done far worse things but then in a narcissistic way blamed it on my sister and I. My niece acts very tough and nonchalant about it, but a good few months ago, we were watching Hope Floats, and she just burst into tears sobbing, "Why doesn't Dad love me? What did I do wrong?" There is no perfect outcome for this sadly, but I do feel that she needs to know that you know, and so do your mom and siblings. If possible, do it in a calm factual way that protects your integrity. From my experience, do not respond and/or mirror or act like her. Always maintain your dignity and equilibrium in spite of what people here might say. Always maintain the upper hand. My sister and I did not, and sadly reacted to a lot of what my niece's stepmom did with rage. She, as any good narcissist, would in turn use this against us. I talked with my siblings and my mom, July 20th, 2024. Hi. For now I'm going to post this little update here since I haven't spoken to my father yet, but I spoke with my siblings and mom. I told my dad that I was staying at a friend's house when I left the academy, but I actually went to my mom's house and told her everything. She doesn't even know what Reddit is, that site isn't used too much here. But I translated the comments and posts for her, I showed her the videos and my mom was furious. I explained to her that in the comments it's Madre Biologica. I was confused about it too the first time I read that, also with SM. So my SM also made comments and posts complaining about my mother being that they have always had a cordial treatment. But still my SM was lying saying that my mother was troublesome. No one in the comments said anything. Everyone supported her and they recommended that she should move far away with her legal family. Far away from the problematic BM and kids. First we told my brother, who was also upset and said that she was a fake but that he has seen her ignore my sister and pretend that she does not see or hear her a lot of times. He explained that like me it also seems strange to him that SM has not yet learned sign language. My siblings spend a lot of time at my father's house. Just like English or Spanish, sign language is much easier to learn if you live with someone who uses it every day, therefore it is strange that SM doesn't use it. He said that even my father has offered to pay for her classes but she says she doesn't have time. We asked him if he noticed any other behavior of that kind and he said that SM doesn't let him take care of our younger brother, Which she also does with me, but curiously she does let our sister take care of him, so I don't understand that. Other than that, she's never treated him badly or anything like that. At the time of telling my sister she was the most hurt, she cried especially because of SM's comments towards me calling me a whore. It's kind of ironic how the comments towards her affected me and the comments towards me affected her. Haha. Something that my sister noticed that I didn't is that almost all of SM's comments are criticizing me, my sister and even my mother, but my brother she has only criticized sleepovers or when he comes back late from being with his friends. But she has criticized my and my sister's clothes, made up things about my life, confessed that she hates it when we hug our father, she said we're too clingy. She talked badly about my mother, etc. My sister said it's sexist and maybe she's got some mental problem. My sister said she always believed SM didn't really hear her and she maybe wasn't speaking well and didn't understand her. I think that's the shittiest thing of all. My sister's greatest pride is being able to pronounce some words no matter how short they are or if they sound like noise for some people. We understand her, but SM made her feel insecure every time she ignored her. I know that my sister always justified that by believing that it was her mistake and that SM made an effort to learn, but it was simply more difficult for her, but now we know that no, she was never interested in learning. I'm getting mad again as I write this, sorry. My mother said she was going to talk to both of them, mainly because even though it's an anonymous site, SM's way of expressing herself is sick and she's not going to let my siblings be around someone like that. Oh, but she's venting, being a stepmom is lonely. I received comments like that. It's not the same to say I feel lonely and I feel stressed, than to say my stepdaughter behaves like a slut, just because me and my minor sister uses a bikini for the pool. Her account is old, she's been leaving comments like that for years. With lies, with complaints we never heard before, it's just messed up. We arranged that we're going to tell our father all together and show him everything, so we're probably going to tell him tomorrow because I need to leave for the academy on Monday. My SM account has not been deleted. It's crazy how she makes things up to get approval from strangers. At this point I don't even know if she's crazy or a mythomaniac. I would like to go back to her email since the password is saved, but I don't know if she will receive a notification of that because this time I closed the account. Update, July 22, 2024. We talked to my father over the weekend. For now he is staying at my mother's house. It is a complicated situation since in the middle of everything is my half-sibling too. During the weekend I went to my father's house and the first thing I did was tell my stepmom separately that I've seen her Reddit account and I'm going to talk about it with my dad. She told me that I can't condemn her for something she uses as an intimate diary, but I told her that this is not a diary, it is a social network where she makes her problems and lies public. If someone other than me discovered her account, then what was going to happen? Were they going to believe all the things she invented? If her identity was revealed on that account by someone else, I would have too many problems and could even be kicked out of the academy. Again, there's a big difference between saying I'm stressed and, my stepdaughters behave like sluts around their father. I simply told her that my mother and sister also know it and would come to talk about it too. She for obvious reasons just went to lock herself in her room not wanting to talk with me. Once we talked to my father I showed him most of the posts and comments. There were so many crazy comments that I think it would take me too long to read them all because they were just so long too. She's that kind of people who comments the bio of their lives in the posts of other people. My father got angry. My SM never expressed having a single problem with us like that. The situation would be different if we knew what she thinks about us. My father went to look for my SM who refused to talk about it and was mostly angry with me for violating her privacy. My father told her that she's insane for thinking that my sister and I sexually provoked him, that he can't believe the way she talks about my sister and the happiness she expresses every time my sister goes to the hospital and is not home. How she expresses to be counting the days until my sibling stops going to the house forever. My father told her that she knew that he is a father and that he would never leave us aside. She made her decision, and even so, instead of talking about her problems she decided to create an account to play at being a victim. She said she needs a place to vent, but he told her that venting is not the same as telling lies. Venting is not the same as hating your stepdaughters and talking horrible things about them, and she could have spoken about it and not just lied. They argued a lot, but it didn't get anywhere because she kept defending herself and my father only told her that it was over. My mother told my father that she is not going to let my sister and brother be around a woman who is clearly mentally unstable because no normal person thinks like that. After arguing too much and even trying to make SM understand that what she did is wrong, she just justified herself all the time. My father went with us and told her that he is going to come back just to see my brother every day, but that he no longer trusts her and never saw that side of her. She lied for so many years. Nothing really went as I expected. I think I at least hoped that she could apologize, but I think she doesn't even think that what she did is wrong. In her mind, everything was totally justified because being a stepmother is difficult, but nothing justifies her being so cruel and poisonous. But yeah, that's what happened. I think it's hurtful to know that someone can hide that much darkness inside. I wasn't too close with her, but I liked her, to the point of sharing my clothes and things with her, so I also feel sad about it. Mostly for my dad. Me gustaría simplemente decir que ella está demente, pero creo que eso daría espacio a justificar su comportamiento. Ella simplemente es una víbora de dos cabezas. Editor's note. Translation. I would like to just say that she is insane, but I think that would give room to justify her behavior. She is simply a two-headed viper. Relevant comments. Not so religious now. Is her account still up, or did she delete everything? She's absolutely insane and a narcissist if she can't see that what she did was wrong. I hope it all works out for you guys. Stay strong. OOP. The last time I looked, it was still there. I have her email password saved on my computer, so if she doesn't delete it, I'll tell my sister to do it for me. Some people told me that they have recognized some of her comments, so yes, I will delete the account if she doesn't de-kill the messenger one. Wow, just wow. You think you know someone and then 1 second, bam, I am so sorry you and your family are dealing with this. SM is off her rocker. Does she need constant attention and approval? She needs therapy, and most likely the whole family, because this is a traumatic event and major trust issues are now forming. Stay well, stay strong. OP, new updates. Little tiny update. August 25th, 2024. 1 month later. Hello. It's been a while and I honestly forgot to make an update. Not many things have happened, but I just want to update for people who were worried. My younger brother has been visiting us. Our father still lives at my mother's house. Luckily, my stepmom lets my dad bring him home some days of the week and on weekends. I deleted her account weeks ago. She didn't tell me anything about it or if she saw any TikTok or post about this. Maybe now she's afraid to use Reddit or something like that. I only deleted the posts, but there were too many comments and I honestly didn't want to waste my time deleting them one by one. I'm not sure if comments are automatically deleted with the account as well. I'm not going to talk too much about her and my father's relationship, but she continues to deny that she did anything wrong and has a very misogynistic way of thinking about women, and apparently she does not intend to change her way of thinking. It's too crazy how now we know her dark side, but at the same time she's still her with my little brother and even my father. My father is separated from her for now because he doesn't have money to pay for the divorce. She said that if they come back together she will not let me enter her house after what I did, so my father decided to stop trying with her. I have no idea what legal arrangement they have on the house or what will happen when they divorce, but I guess my father is going to leave the house to her and he's going to find another place to rent in order for my younger brother to suffer as little stress as possible from a separation. For a toddler, moving is a lot of anxiety, so it's better for him to stay comfortable in his place. I wouldn't have any problem with that, and neither would my siblings. I prefer my brother to have a home and suffer as little as possible from the separation. So yes, that has happened. I'm surprised that a month has passed. I feel like it's been 7 years, but these kinds of serious processes last month, so nothing interesting or anything like that has happened. For now, I'm glad my little brother can be with us. Update 2, October 5th, 2024, 1.5 months later. Hello, it's been a while since I last posted here. I just wanted to give one last update before leaving this for a few months, since things like divorces take a lot of time and long processes, much more so when minors are involved. If my father and SM agree on everything, the divorce process can be finished in 3 months, but if not, it can last up to a year. It all depends on them. This will probably be a pretty boring update, but I want to reassure people who are worried about me and my siblings. My father has screenshots of everything, even the video of me entering her stepmom account from her email on my computer. I don't think it will do much good during divorce since internet laws are a gray area here, but it's always better for him to have that just in case. Needless to say, SM will be in maybe 3 months, if everything goes well. Officially only my little brother's mother and no more my SM. Luckily she lets my little brother come to my mother's house and spend time with my father and us as always. He comes almost every day of the week. My father is going to leave the house to her so that the divorce will be the least stressful for my brother. At one point my father wanted to ask her to let me stay there on the weekends when I come back from the academy, but I told him not to do that. Honestly, I'm afraid to wake up and find her on the end of the bed looking at me like misery. I don't want to share a house with her at all. The only and last time I had a conversation with SM again, I asked her if she wasn't ashamed of anything and she totally ignored me. I think the most affected by this was my sister, who feels she has suffered discrimination from our stepmother, and I honestly believe her. My sister has told us about some situations that she let go of but now realizes were micro-discriminatory behaviors against her, although they were not things like making fun of her in front of her face, There are microaggressions that we often decide to ignore, but they are done with malice. For example, my brother said that SM once said that my father's sons salen bien del horno. At the time he took it as a random comment. Maybe we are overthinking. But now he thinks it was something with double intention towards me and my sister, like saying that we didn't come out well. Again, things we like to ignore and think, nah, it was just a random comment. She has never apologized. She has the kind of mentality that the husband is only the wife's man and the partner comes before the children, which in my opinion is bullshit because she's only jealous of me and my sister. Imagine being jealous of your husband's daughters? SM strongly believes that she didn't do anything wrong except not to have written that in a secret diary. At least she now admits that. Maybe in 10 years she will realize everything else. My father for obvious reasons has gotten tired of trying to talk to her in a mature way, so they are going to divorce, and I guess she expected it because she didn't make any fuss nor anything like that. Divorces are a long and expensive process, so for now my parents, and SM too, at least she's a good mother to her own son, are focusing on not letting my younger brother feel those chaotic vibes, and my parents are taking care to not let my sister feel too bad either. They will go for joint custody since my father could not take care of my little brother 24/7 because of his work, and anyway they would not give him to him since he does not have a house or all the things that the courts ask for. I think the least affected by all this is my other brother who is in dad, she's a bitch. Just find another girlfriend mode, but I guess that's how teenagers are. Anyway, there were people who found some of the posts or even comments which surprised me, lol. I've also been getting harassment from people from that sub, but know that I've already deleted the account. Congratulations to those who found the account. Now, on to the next story, story 4. An old friend who once called me a bad influence for being child-free now wants me to house his family of 5. First and foremost, this is not an article in which I question whether or not I did the correct thing. I am confident that I did. This is a rant about an emotional day, and the only people who will understand are those who do not have children. The gist: Dave, not his real name, a former acquaintance with whom I had lost touch for nearly 3 years, has recently contacted me again. He claims he has a house emergency and has to locate a place for himself, his wife, and their 3 children to stay while their home is being repaired. This is the same person who told me he couldn't be my buddy when I was going through a horrific experience because I'd be a poor influence on his children because I'm childless. A little background. The friendship ended because I was stressed out and upset. My father's death was just one of several awful events that occurred over the course of 3 months. I was looking for comfort, but Dave told me that being childless was a detrimental effect on their family. At the time, he was married with 2 children. In short, they didn't want to spend time with me because I wasn't worth anything compared to their more valuable pals. This was someone I had known since graduate school, and we had spent a lot of time doing enjoyable things together. Like rock climbing. Dave and I were part of a group of common friends who frequently rented out lake cottages or winter lodges for summer and winter sporting activities. We've been pals for over 10 years, and he suddenly deserted me because he decided I wasn't useful. It ached a lot, especially while I was coping with some very tragic situations. Even more so because I was there for him when he learned his mother had cancer and again at her death. As I previously stated, I hadn't spoken or contacted him in nearly 3 years. I attributed it to people being really odd after they have kids. That they slip into a conventional, conservative mindset in which anyone who isn't wanting or working toward a Leave It to Beaver 2.5 kids situation is somehow questionable. Then today, I received a text message from Dave. I never deleted or disabled his phone number, so his name remained saved and there it was. He asked me to allow him and his 3 children to stay at my place since their water heater had broken, and it was an emergency situation. He knows I now live in the same city as him, and it would be a huge help. And here's the kicker. It appears that he and his wife had a 3rd child after telling me I was a terrible influence. Co-baby, I suppose. My main question was, why ask me of all people? I asked Dave why he wanted me to do this for him. His reaction was essentially that he is out of alternatives and no one else has room for him and his 3 children, especially his 5-month-old. I asked him why he couldn't book a hotel room for them. He stated it would be very expensive and that they are in a lot of medical debt because their newest child had to be in the NICU when he was born. I said it sounded challenging, but why me? He said he knew I helped someone with emergency lodging last year and noticed I had plenty of extra space for guests. Because I was so generous then, I could be generous with him now. I knew precisely what he was talking about, but I wanted to know how he knew it. That scenario was touchy, and I assumed it was a private family affair. He claimed it was put on Facebook by the people I assisted. Quick segue. Around this time last year, one of my good college friends, Kate, who has lupus, contracted COVID-19. She was also being very careful. It sucked because this was before immunizations were made available to vulnerable populations. She's my age, in her mid-30s, and aside from lupus, she's in excellent health. In fact, she runs marathons. Kate's lupus exacerbated COVID, and she ended up in the ICU. Furthermore, she was pregnant, and her husband had to choose between saving her life and protecting the fetus. It was basically a choice between providing Kate with life-saving medicine and care at the price of the fetus or having her die. Fortunately, her husband is a decent guy and allowed the doctors to terminate the pregnancy in order to save her life. Kate's mother was a nightmare, claiming her daughter should have perished with the baby. She even attempted to arrange for a priest to perform Kate's funeral rites while she was in a coma. As expected, this resulted in a massive, dramatic fallout. Kate's brother and his wife urgently needed a place to stay away from their mother. I had an extra room and am conveniently located near the hospital. They stayed with me for 2 days before securing a hotel room in one of those long-term residential hotels. Nobody was sure Kate would make it out alive, so they naturally wanted to be nearby. They lived out of state and were living with their cruel mother while their sister was in the hospital. Fortunately, Kate got it out alive and has since disowned her mother. While in a coma, she recalls hearing others discussing the priest's attempted break-in. I welcomed Kate's brother and his wife into my home because they were lovely people, had always been supportive, and are still among the most kind people I know. Apparently, unbeknownst to me because I don't use Facebook, Kate's brother or wife posted something about how nice I was to help them out in a time of need, a ray of sunshine in what had been a very dark era for them. They told me directly, but I had no idea they had published the matter on social media. Let's get back to today. Dave saw those things last year, remembered it, and assumed I would welcome his family and children into my home with open arms. Honestly, I told him to shove it. I was furious that he was attempting to shame me into allowing him and his family into my home for an indeterminate period of time. He knows I don't have children. He even said that my lack of children was a poor influence on his family, but now that it's convenient for him, I'm no longer a bad influence. Now he believes he can waltz back into my life without even apologizing for the horrific things he said 3 years ago. I explained to him that being child-free means I do not want children in my home for a lengthy period of time. If I did, I would not be child-free. I was not going to interrupt my life or my 2 cats only to be a bed and breakfast for his 3 children. He stated I was selfish and should worry about his children, and that there is no hot water in his house. I told him, tough. You can use a credit card or ask a family to pay for a hotel stay. He made additional excuses, bringing up their medical debt again, and assured me that it would just be for a few days. I informed him that many days for a damaged hot water heater seems exceedingly suspicious. Things like these can be corrected rather fast. I am aware of our state's residency regulations, and if someone stays in someone's home for 7 days, they are entitled to tenant rights. I wasn't going to risk this becoming a situation in which I couldn't get rid of them. He told me off and threatened to spread the word on social media that I wouldn't help a family of 3 in an emergency and that I wanted innocent kids to suffer. I instructed him to pound sand and eat a dick. He hasn't been a friend for many years. He doesn't even know my address. All he knows is that I live nearby in the same city and that I'm alone. He can slam me on social media all he wants. I'm not on Facebook, therefore I don't care what a group of Karens thinks of me. I told him that social media is not real life. If he tells my actual friends about this, they will laugh in his face. I have all of his texts as proof of how he spoke to me, and I told him he used to be a kind person. We spent a lot of good times together, and I'm still terrible about his mother. I'm sorry he chose this road in life since it sounds like he's miserable, but he's a negative influence in my life. Therefore I can't have him around. I'm confident he'll understand because he said the same about me. That was the gist of my last words to him. He took off till I blocked him. I'm very sad about it. He used to be a good person 10 years ago and his mother was a gorgeous woman. I'm now bracing myself for any flying monkeys who may emerge from the woodwork and try to shame me into taking care of his family. I can't wait to tell them to take his family with them. I've already discussed the problem with my 2 best buddies. They were both astonished by Dave's bravado and lack of shame. They believed it was suspicious because he was so insistent on getting into my home for days. One acquaintance reported that her water heater broke recently, and she had a plumber come out the same day. It only took a day to fix. His opposition to the hotel plan raised a red flag for them, and they're curious about the whole situation. I agreed that there is a sense of absence. I feel righteous about all of this. I know I did the right thing. I resent that a past act of compassion was turned against me. Years ago I felt he had a point, that I was somehow unworthy because I was depressed, and people dislike sad people. But now that I see things clearly, I see that he had a deeply flawed personality. It did bring back old melancholy memories. Anyway, thanks for reading if you got all the way through. I needed to get this off my chest and rant. Update on Dave's water heater. An old friend, who once described me as a negative influence on his family, now wants me to house his family. Well, I'm pleased, and a bit shocked, that most issues have been rectified barely over 24 hours after they began. I suppose this is one of the benefits of having people working for you behind the scenes. I also wanted to thank everyone who interacted with my last post. I appreciate the encouragement and knew you'd understand my outburst. RIP to my inbox, but I read everything. And you all are the best Reddit community. No trolls, which I believe is a Reddit miracle. So on to the update. I'm writing this while drinking hot tea and I encourage you to do the same. This is going to be long. The deal. All of your gut instincts were correct. It was suspected that a damaged water heater would force a family of 5 to seek an alternative home, especially because Dave does not even have a water heater. It was all a lie. All of you go, I knew it. So here's the deal. Dave sold his house 6 months ago, and he and his wife Shelley have been looking for a larger home ever since. As I am writing this, they are already in a motel with their children. They have a lot of hot water. I imagine you all bobbing your heads up and down, saying, yep, I knew it. You requested an update because the water heater excuse sounded strange, so here it is. Seriously, grab yourself some tea. My sister, who is in another time zone and has a few hours on me, appears to be looking into Dave. Her spouse worked as a PI throughout graduate school, and she has a professional talent to find information about people. She's a little spooky but in a good way. She also uses social media, but I do not. I gave her Dave's complete name and some information I knew about him, such as his prior residence, his wife's name, and the names of his children. She went into town. She told me that his house went on the market around 6 months ago and sold swiftly for significantly more than it was purchased for years ago. It's a seller's market, and this was a big sale. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Then she stated she checked around the city and adjacent towns and couldn't locate any records of him purchasing further land. It appeared that his house had sold, but nothing further occurred. So I texted my 2 friends from yesterday, telling them what my sister discovered and that it appears Dave sold his house and no longer has a water heater problem, because he doesn't have one. My friends were asking, WTF? Allison, one of the 2 pals, contacted my sister, and the 2 embarked on a social media journey. My sister was scared I was being duped. Allison was a graduate school classmate of mine and Dave over a decade ago. She wasn't particularly close to him, and he wasn't on her radar, but she was one of his Facebook friends. We learned more after people friended absolutely everyone they knew on Facebook. Around the same time, I heard from Kate's brother and sister-in-law, who had remained with me while she was in the hospital. Kate's sister-in-law, Laura, expressed gratitude for my donation on Facebook. She confirmed that she had posted 2 pictures, one of my cat, who appeared to be laying down the home rules, and one of my large Monster Deliciosa plant, which she adored. You may extract information about my home from the images, such as the clean and spacious kitchen and the great pantry, which will be useful later. Laura was humiliated when I told her what was going on, and she realized she might have been somewhat to blame for Dave wanting to get into my house. She deleted the post, untagged my name and provided me with a screenshot to prove it. She even asked if she could assist with anything else. I told her that my sister was obviously doing a deep dive and could use some assistance. I put Laura in touch with my sister. Laura then allegedly contacted Allison at random, and late in the morning, Allison requested screenshots of the specific parts in the text discussion where Dave stated that his problem was with the water heater and that he wanted me to care for his family and children for a few days. I gave it to her, and there was radio silence for the majority of the day. I mused, I wonder what's going on. In the early evening, I learned a lot more about the story. My sister, Allison, and Laura sent me texts. I'm going to try to lay it out, even if it's a little circuitous. Dave and his wife Shelley sold their home 6 months ago. They want additional space and bedrooms for their now 3 children and wanted to upgrade. Because it was a tremendous and volatile seller's market, their home was projected to have gained high 6 figures in equity since they purchased it. They were thrilled to put it on the market. Dave and Shelley wanted to earn top cash for the house, so they sold it without a condition that they must purchase a home before the new buyer could move in and legally take possession. Dave was certain that with the large sale, they could acquire another one shortly. Their home sold quickly, and there was a bidding war. Dave bragged about it. He and Shelley tried to buy another home, but it was not easy. They were outbid on all of the residences for which they bid. When the new owners took over the house, they had to move out. Dave and Shelley didn't think this was a big deal. A friend took them in with the understanding that it would be temporary and that they would be actively looking for a home. They tried, but were still outbid. They refused to reduce their expectations or change their budget. They wouldn't look at properties the same size as their previous one because the whole point of selling was to buy a larger home. They couldn't win any of the bidding wars, and Dave refused to raise the budget. Their third child was born prematurely and was in the NICU, so they do have medical debt. Dave did not want to spend any more money or take out new debts. So Dave, Shelley, and the 3 children went to someone else's house to stay. They kept looking for homes but couldn't find one. This happened again, this time at a third person's house. At this point, people began encouraging him that it could be a good idea to wait out the housing bubble until it was no longer a seller's market and then get an apartment in the interim. Dave batted this down since he said that an apartment costs the same as a mortgage. If he's going to pay for living expenses each month, it better be a mortgage. He considered paying for an apartment to be a financial drain. Shelley became further enraged at the suggestion. She didn't want to live in an apartment that was smaller than their prior home. Dave's family appeared to be overstaying their welcome. People were growing annoyed, and Dave and Shelley refused to chip in for groceries. Dave's family had now reached the 4th residence of folks offering to take them in. A month ago, they ran out of free housing alternatives. Hilariously, they were all sold out because people required the space for their own families visiting for the holidays. Nobody wants to take the freeloaders in anymore. Shelley is a city school teacher, and with the kids back in school, they felt compelled to remain in the city. Their only other possibilities for free accommodation were Dave's brother, who lives approximately 2 hours away, and Shelley's parents, who reside 6 hours away. Neither choice was ideal for Dave and Shelley's careers or for their children's access to in-person programs. Dave and his family needed to find housing right away, so they booked a motel. They were really upset because their children are loud, and the hotel personnel are constantly ordering them to be quieter. Dave and Shelley grumbled about how much they dislike living in hotels and how unfair it is that they can't afford a house despite having so much money. To be clear, they have more than enough money to get by living in a hotel, which is still significantly more expensive than renting an apartment. Dave likes the notion of the hotel because there is no need to sign a lease. They can go at any moment, and they have maid service. Shelley gets all poor me, saying that the kids are sad because they don't have a backyard to play in, and that staying in a hotel prevents them from being kids. Slight segue. Allison went back through Shelley's posts and discovered an incident in which Shelley and a group of her pals were not very polite about me. This occurred at the beginning of the pandemic. It was back when everyone was panicking out and buying up all the toilet paper. People also purchased a large quantity of food before it could be refilled due to panic buying. In the early evening, I learned a lot more about the story. My sister, Allison, and Laura sent me texts. I'll try to explain it, even if it's a little circuitous. Dave and his wife Shelley sold their home 6 months ago. They want additional space and bedrooms for their now 3 children and wanted to upgrade. It was a hot seller's market, and their home was projected to have gained high 6 figures in equity since they purchased it. They were thrilled to put it on the market. Dave and Shelley wanted to achieve the highest possible price for their home, so they sold it without first purchasing a new one. Dave was confident that with the big sale, they could obtain another one fast. Their home sold quickly, and there was a bidding war. Dave bragged about it. He and Shelley attempted to purchase another property, but it was a difficult process. Every home they bid on was won by someone else who bid higher. Dave and Shelley had to leave their old house when the new owners moved in. They didn't believe it was such a huge thing at first. A friend took them in, assuming it would be temporary and that they would be actively looking for a home. They tried but were still outbid. They refused to reduce their expectations or change their budget. They would not consider homes that were the same size as their previous one because the whole point of selling was to move into a larger home. They could not win any bidding wars, and Dave refused to raise the budget. To make matters worse, their third child was delivered prematurely and required care in the NICU, resulting in medical debt. Dave did not want to spend more money or take out more debts. So Dave, Shelley, and the 3 children went to stay at someone else's house. They continued to look for a home but were unsuccessful. This pattern repeated when they went to a third person's house. People began encouraging Dave that it could be a good idea to wait out the housing bubble, when it was less of a seller's market, and get an apartment in the meanwhile. Dave rejected this since he claimed that renting an apartment costs as much as a mortgage. He figured that if he was going to pay for living expenses on a monthly basis, it should be for a mortgage. He viewed renting a flat as a financial drain. Shelley became further enraged at the suggestion. She did not want to live in an apartment that was smaller than their previous home. Dave's family had overstayed their welcome. People were growing annoyed, and Dave and Shelley refused to chip in for groceries. Dave's family was now in their fourth place to stay. A month ago, they ran out of free housing alternatives. Ironically, they were asked to leave because folks needed to make room for their own relatives visiting for the holidays. Nobody wants to take in freeloaders anymore. Shelley is a school teacher in the city, and now that their children are back in school, they need to stay in the city. However, their only other possibilities for free accommodation were Dave's brother, who lives 2 hours away, and Shelley's parents, who reside 6 hours away. Neither choice was ideal for Dave and Shelley's careers, nor for bringing their children to in-person lessons. So Dave and his family booked a hotel. They were very upset because their children were being loud, and the hotel personnel kept ordering them to be quieter. Dave and Shelley talked about how much they disliked living in a hotel and how unfair it was that they couldn't afford a house despite having so much money. To be clear, they have enough money to stay in a hotel, but it is still significantly more expensive than renting an apartment. Dave loved the hotel idea because they didn't have to sign a lease, could leave at any moment, and had maid service. Shelley began playing the victim, claiming that the kids were sad because they didn't have a backyard to play in and that staying in a hotel prevented them from being children. Meanwhile, Allison went back and uncovered posts from Shelley in which she and a group of pals were talking negatively about me. This occurred at the beginning of the pandemic, when people panicked and purchased items such as toilet paper and food. Someone I knew from graduate school contacted me to see how I was doing. I assumed she was approaching me to offer support and be kind, but her true intention was to ask for part of my food. I've always kept a well-stocked pantry, a tradition passed down from my grandmother, who survived World War II. This acquaintance knew I had a good supply of food and requested me to give her some because I didn't have any children to feed. She stated her child was a picky eater and that I probably have some frozen chicken on hand. I was astonished by her audacity and told her that if she needed food, she could go to a food bank. I was not going to simply hand her my lunch since her child only ate homemade chicken nuggets. There was no food scarcity, it was simply panic shopping. I suggested that she go to the grocery store early in the morning, when they usually refill, and she'd be able to obtain chicken. She labeled me selfish and brought it to social media, where she conversed behind my back with other spouses of graduate school colleagues. Back to Shelley, she sided with the woman who had tried to persuade me to give her my frozen chicken. Shelley also thought I was selfish for not assisting a mother out. She even commented that it was weird for me to keep so much food around while I lived alone, implying that I definitely had difficulties. If you guessed Dave's bad influence comment about me was planted by his wife, you'd be correct. When Laura posted about my generosity in allowing her and her husband to stay at my house for a few days while Kate was in the hospital, Shelley originally commented sweetly, stating how nice it was of me to do so and how lovely my home looked. But behind the scenes she wasn't as nice. Shelley's recent tweets moan about how sad her children are because they don't have a backyard to play in, and how staying in a hotel prevents them from being kids. Then, just 2 days ago, she tweeted about finding a new home for her family that was so cute and had a fantastic kitchen. Dave texted me unexpectedly after 3 years of no communication, claiming he had a damaged water heater and asking me to host his family for a few days. You all know I told him no. My pals noticed that Dave and Shelley made passive-aggressive comments on social media this morning about how bad society is nowadays when friends refuse to aid families in need. Shelley grumbled that their new home had fallen through and received a lot of sympathy from her Karen pals. She claimed her children were quite disappointed. I believe this is when Allison requested screenshots of Dave's water heater sob tale. Allison went on a tear, uploading the screenshots and revealing that Dave and Shelley never had a new home scenario planned. They were simply trying to influence me by lying. Regarding a damaged water heater, I had never agreed to having them stay in my home. Laura confronted them for attempting to take advantage of me. Allison went on a rage over the situation that occurred 3 years ago. My true friends, like Allison, were very supportive, whereas Dave was indifferent, saying, "Yeah, I don't care," and branding me a bad influence on his family. Allison informed everyone about Dave labeling me a terrible influence because of my child-free lifestyle, and how stupid it was for him to believe he could simply stroll back into someone's life after criticizing them. Allison, who is childless, found it particularly offensive. People began chastising Dave for being so nasty before requesting favors. People began calling him cheap and a leech, and the situation appeared to escalate. Some of the folks who had let his family stay with them for the previous 6 months came out of the woodwork to criticize him. One guest mentioned how filthy Dave's family was and how much extra cleaning they had to perform. They claimed his children had no manners, frightened their dogs, and that it was a relief when they eventually departed. People were outraged that Dave and Shelley had sought to deceive me and then portray me as the bad guy on social media. People I hadn't spoken with in a long time came out to defend me, telling Dave I was a decent person and reminded him of how I had helped them in graduate school. It was quite good to hear. Some even commented that I had helped them acquire jobs, which was more than Dave had ever done. I'm quite involved in the graduate school networking scene, and I appreciate sharing career prospects and mentoring others, especially those looking for scientific jobs. Even Dave's own brother expressed displeasure at Dave's behavior. He remembered how much I had helped them when their mother died and stated that if she knew how Dave treated others, she would be rolling in her grave. My sister ended up getting me on Zoom with her and screen sharing her display to show me what all the fuss was about. Perhaps this is why I never received mail accusing me of not allowing a family into my home. I expected some blowback, but I never received it. Oh God, schadenfreude. Dave had threatened to put me on blast on Facebook, but he ended up getting blasted himself. How ridiculous, how utterly idiotic. I have text messages from him lying about the goddamned water heater. He must have assumed that because I was not on social media, I would be unable to inform others that he was lying or that I would be unaware that he was truly enjoying hot water at his hotel. I feel like I escaped a nuclear-tipped rocket. After work, I had to pour myself a drink and ponder about it all. After examining everything, I believe Dave and Shelley intended to try to squat in my house. Dave went off when I cited the 7-day rule, which allows tenants to gain rights in our state. I felt something was fishy, and you all did too. I believe Dave was a cheap bastard who didn't want to pay extra for a hotel, didn't want to rent an apartment, and had exhausted all of his in-city free lodging options with pals. It was their last desperate attempt. Shelley knew I was welcoming to visitors, and they both knew my home was clean and well stocked with food for their children. They already had a reputation for eating people out of their homes. If they had stayed with me for a week, they would have been tenants, and I would have had to go through the legal process to evict them. It may have taken several months. It is much easier to con a single person and force them out of their own home than to try the same trick on friends with children and limited space. He was simply seeking for free housing so he could invest every dime he had towards his goal of purchasing a 4+ bedroom house with the proceeds from the sale of his previous home. I don't know for sure, but it makes sense. So I decided to send him one final SMS. I unblocked him and sent this message before reblocking his number. Hey Dave, I found out you were lying about the water heater. You don't even have one. You're staying in a hotel while sitting on a large sum of money from selling your old property. I think it's incredibly shady of you to lie to me and try to get into my home to leech off of me, especially since you wrecked our friendship by calling me a terrible influence on your family. I didn't tell you back then, but I'll tell you now, you are trash. Your mother would be embarrassed of you. I see it as all projection since you're a negative influence on not only my life but also the lives of others. If you truly believed that I was a terrible influence, you would not have attempted to bring your family into my home this week. But if you still think I'm a terrible influence, you won't have to worry about me aiding you or doing you any favors in the future. I will keep my evil influence away from your family. Oh, and Shelley appears to have become a genuine treat. Because I am not a monster, the final thing I will do for you is remind you that you must fulfill your responsibilities as a husband and father by providing a secure dwelling for your family. Stop playing those freeloader games. Here is a link to our local Craigslist housing page. I am confident you will find something. Oh, and I hope to see you at our next non-Zoom alumni event. I'm sure it will be wonderful to catch up in person. So it's finished. I said my piece. Once again, you were all correct. Something else was going on. I'm really sick right now. How could someone conceive of doing this to me? I'm also feeling ill at the thought of admitting them into my house. That would have been a nightmare. Now to the next story 5. I suspect that my pregnant wife may have had an affair with her coworker. Am I the asshole for asking for a paternity test now? Original post May 9, 2024. My wife, 38F, and I, 39M, have been together for 12 years. I don't know how to describe it other than calling it the perfect relationship. I think in 12 years we've only ever gotten to the point of really raising our voices at one another maybe 2 or 3 times. We do everything together, but always have never had issues allowing each other to lead our own lives and follow our own interests. We bought a house where we wanted. We both have good high-paying jobs that have great work-life balance. Basically it's been everything short of perfect. We've been trying for 2 years to get pregnant and it hasn't been happening. We were just about to start the fertility stuff when I came home from a work trip and guess what, she's pregnant. I had this weird instant thought of, wait, I thought we didn't try during the week last month because of the fertility testing, but I couldn't remember exactly because to be honest, we were busy at it. So I just assumed I missed remembering. Now, I travel around the country pretty regularly for work. Other than COVID, I've been on the road as much as 40 weeks a year sometimes. Since COVID it's been less but still more than a week a month. Over the last 4-5 years my wife has gotten very friendly with a guy she works with, let's call him Matt. Matt is slightly younger, I think 34 or so. I know him, he's married, I know his wife. They've worked together for I think 7 years or so. He's always been around, he and I have been friendly. Have I ever thought something was happening? No, but I've always thought. You'd be a fool to not think there's even a 1% chance your spouse would go outside the relationship. Maybe I'm naive, but I've always seen it as a safeguard to not take my wife or any other partner in the past for granted. She's never given me a reason to think she'd do that. But anything is possible. So about a month ago I'm out of state for work and she's at home. I ask her what she's doing earlier in the day and she says Matt is coming by for dinner. Not out of the ordinary, Matt comes by from time to time. Sometimes with his wife, sometimes without, sometimes when I'm not there. I don't think much of it. We have a security system which includes cameras both inside and outside of the house which we installed after an unrelated incident a few years ago. They record and are live accessible by both her and I. I often use those cameras to check on the dog when I or both of us are away, as the rest of the system is monitored by a company in case of an alarm going off. She knows I check those cameras. There's a system installed where I can talk through them. I'll mess with my wife and she will be with me if either of us are out of town. She travels for work as well, but far less than I do. Point is, it's known that I check them often when I'm not at home. So I turn on the camera and I see my 4 months pregnant wife, lying on the floor, on her side with Matt sitting, straddling her legs and using a foam roller to massage her hips. So I'm like, okay, what the fuck is this? I start rewinding through the footage and they are eating and talking normally, but then they get on the couch and get under the same blanket. Now, they are feet to feet, but that couch isn't that big. Then they move to the floor and that's when I logged in. Anyway, I text her, I'm still watching the cameras, they both look like deer in headlights and he very quickly leaves. We get into an argument. She isn't mad at me accusing her but she's adamant that nothing has or ever would happen, and that what I saw was innocent and she was complaining about being in pain from the pregnancy. Which I know is true, she's already having some issues with back pain, etc. The biggest point of that discussion was I asked, if I were there would you two have been comfortable doing any of that in front of me? And she reluctantly admitted. No, probably not. I told her I didn't want to talk after that and we'd talk when I got home 3 days later. That's when it hit me. What if my weird gut moment feeling about her telling me she was finally pregnant was this? What if my 1% happened and this is not my child we are having? Now, it eats away at me while I'm at a hotel alone 1,000 miles away for 3 days. I reconcile with myself that, I think it's less likely than more likely that something between them has happened. But basically my 1% just jumped to 10%, 20% maybe. I get home and she's on eggshells and doesn't mention it. I kinda wait to see what she's going to do. 2 days later, she finally brings it up and breaks down. Swears nothing has happened. She would never. Doesn't do anything over the top to try and prove anything. Which I took as a good sign. But anyway, we talk out the issue and everything to a point of at least moving forward for now. I'm still coping and dealing with it, figuring out how to retrust after all this time. I'm getting more and more understanding of the fact that they are friends. They've been friends for so long, maybe he has intentions. But I don't see her having any and I've never really picked up on it and I've spent time around both of them together many times, and never caught anything. So the thing that is destroying me right now is, if I'm wrong and something did happen, while I can figure out how to deal with that. What if that child isn't mine? In the argument and a few long conversations we've had about the situation since I've never brought that up, and she's not mentioned it. Mostly because I don't want to make the situation worse and crush her if in fact she's telling the truth, which I mostly believe. The only thing I can think to do at this point is to wait until the baby is born and immediately order a paternity test in secret. Should I do that? Should I tell her and have it dealt with now? If you're a woman in her shoes and you're telling the truth, would that destroy you, or your view of me? If you're lying, what would you do if I asked? I don't want to ask a super vague question, but what should I do? TLDR, very small chance my wife of 12 years had an affair and she's 4 months pregnant and I can't bring myself to ask for a paternity test for fear of crushing her if nothing actually happened. But I am planning on doing it in secret when the baby comes. What should I do? Update. So many comments. Thank you everyone, more than I can address directly, but I'm going to keep reading a few things. 1. Stop DMing me about this, thanks. 2. Some have made some good points about addressing it now rather than later, and that's something that I'm considering more than I was before. Thank you. 3. To those focused only on my relationship. I get it, but that's not what I'm focused on. We've been talking about it a lot. My wife and I are pretty open people with each other. I'm not saying I'm convinced nothing happened, but I'm more focused on paternity right now. 4. If I need to track, spy on, life 360, my wife. Then this relationship is over already. That's not the relationship we have and not one that I ever want, and in my opinion not one anyone should ever have. We are working on rebuilding trust. As I said in this long-winded post, my default of 1% possibility went up to 10% or so. Trust me, I'm taking my relationship seriously, but to those I've said this to already. If the kid isn't mine, then there's no longer any conversation to have. 5. I've already had this discussion with my lawyer. I don't live in a state where the birth certificate stuff will be an issue. If I have paperwork that this child isn't mine, then divorce isn't going to be much of an issue. Both of us are in an independent financial situation where it won't matter much regardless. I'll keep up with this post as long as I can and post an update when and if anything gets resolved. Update May 10, 2024. So she was out of state on a business trip until late last night. It's Friday, so she worked from home in our kitchen. So I asked to talk and brought it up and asked for a test. She immediately said yes and said there's zero doubt and nothing that she'd even have a second to worry about. But she has no problem doing it now. The only caveat I left it with is, if it's invasive at all per our doctors, then I'm okay waiting until it's low risk. I'm not a doctor, no clue what they'd have to do it now. So not sure when we are. But she's aware and we are getting one. It was a decent and longer conversation. We are currently sitting together getting lunch. She's got no clue I did this on Reddit. Hence the new account, because she is on here somewhere. Thank you everyone for your help and opinions. A bunch of you made me realize that we're already really open about everything, and if nothing happened then she wouldn't worry about getting one. I was more worried about her health and adding some insane level of stress if it was an issue, as she's an at-risk pregnancy and it took so long for us to get pregnant. So again, thank you all for the help. I suppose I can update if it's mine or not, but I'm not sure how long that will be. I'm 90 to 95% sure it is mine. But this will help us continue this conversation. Thank you. Update. Just because it seems to be more of a topic on this post versus the other one for some reason. Yes, I have the footage. No, I haven't talked to Matt yet. He's told her he wants to talk about it, but I've told them to wait on that. My relationship with my wife and paternity is what's important right now. I will eventually talk with Matt. No, I'm not going to get Matt's wife involved intentionally. I don't know why I would want to just be vindictive. I'm not going to cover for him obviously, but his relationship is his. And mine is mine. I'm not interested in making this worse. Whatever is going on between him and his wife isn't any of my business. Relevant comments. Upu when asked why his wife thought she could be intimate with someone else. We've talked about it at length, nothing is being ignored. I could write you an essay about our past, her reasons and my feelings on it. But instead I'll just say, I'm aware of it. She's claiming innocence of anything further, but at the same time admitting that it wasn't a good look, but she wasn't thinking about it at the time. And that's what we are currently working through. When told it doesn't look innocent and asked if his wife goes to Matt's house when his wife isn't home, she's 4 months old. I was home. And we had been on the clock. To the point of the days blending together, trust me. We are pretty open people and pretty comfortable with ourselves and each other. I don't know if she's been to his house without his wife. I mean, the 3 and 4 of us all hang out probably once or twice a month, but they work directly together every day and have for years. So obviously there's a closeness there. They are both upper management in their company, and at my company I have long-term friends that are women. I've traveled with them. We've done dinner and hung out in hotel rooms together. But I've never done anything because that's not me. I'm married and love my wife and my life. I have no reason to. So I mean, the optics are bad. I just have to decide if it's only the optics. Or if she has a reason to. Maybe he has a reason too, and that's what I saw. That I'm not sure about. But that comes down to, do I trust her to handle that? She says if that's the case she's never noticed it. And she hangs out with him and his wife just about as much as he hangs out with us. She works in a building right near them. My company is based out of Chicago and I live on one of the coasts. So my coworker friends are much more spread out. We can't go to the bar to grab after-work drinks any day like they can. Honestly, I usually go to their work hangouts more than mine because of that. I'm friendly with her CEO because of it. So is it perfect? No. But I've always trusted her. I've never had a reason not to. In 15 years, this is the first crack or dent in it. OOP gives a clearer description of what happened that day. That's not what I saw. She said something. He froze. Said something I couldn't hear and she said no, don't worry about it. He put something in the dishwasher and she walked him out to the front door. He didn't dive out the window. You have to remember this is Reddit. I'm not putting every single nuanced detail in this because that would take me hours to write, and I'm not putting my security footage on the internet for strangers to see. The reason I have the security system in the first place is because of a stranger on the internet. I'm not saying anything beyond that didn't happen for sure between them. I'm saying I don't know now and I don't have any proof. That's what my wife and I are discussing just about every day and what we are working through. The original point of the post was, the only thing we hadn't talked about was paternity because I don't want to put her in a situation where she medically loses the child. Mine or not. Not only have I not been able to put every single nuanced thing in this, I've also sprinkled in false details about our lives, nothing pertinent to what happened but other mundane details. I was a very small public figure at one point, and some lowlife from the internet traveled across the country to make death threats against us because of something warped in his head. To the point where the federal government had to get involved. People here are wildly jumping at conclusions with much less information than I have and ignoring the original point of the post and the original questions asked. Has he told Matt's wife she is my wife's friend's wife? We don't meet up and knit together. I know her through my wife. I see her maybe once every few months at a bar after work, or if they come by for dinner or to hang out. We aren't besties. Again, what should I tell her? Hey, your husband was at my house. I knew he was there and I saw him run a foam roller over the outside of my wife's hip while he was sitting on her feet. It's super obvious they are fucking, and even though I'm not sure, it's possible she's carrying his baby. This isn't a soap opera. There's nothing I know that I can tell her, so why would she take my word on what tiny evidence there is? And why or how in the world would that help my situation? If all of this is false now, I've destroyed my relationship by acting like a child trying to drum up drama for what obviously looks like being vindictive, and I put them in the same situation we are in now. For something that I don't know is true yet. I believe you have entirely lost the plot here. Update 2 August 21st, 2024. Hi folks. So I haven't been touching this account at all as I was mostly bombarded by people telling me I'm an AI, wishing my wife a miscarriage, claiming she's going to get a secret abortion to save herself. Or that I'm a clown for not keeping it real, and destroying someone else's marriage over speculation only. I'm amazed that people are still following this and invested in it after all this time. Here's where we are at. Yes, my wife is still very much pregnant. She's hard to pick things up off the floor stage. She's due in 8 weeks. Holy shit, 6 weeks actually. Just looked at the calendar. We are getting weekly ultrasounds at this point. He's already about 5 pounds and has a big ol' head. She and I had some very long direct conversations about everything. She is adamant that nothing has ever happened and nothing ever would. For a while she was pretty upset with herself for causing this and causing my feelings of doubt. I've done my best to remedy that as I've got to keep stress off her as much as possible right now. But it will for sure be revisited after the birth. As I've been saying the entire time, I'm really only worried about the child and the birth going well, etc. Well, mostly maybe not only, the only thing we still really disagree on is I thought he was getting too close because he had developed feelings or was getting attention that he wasn't getting elsewhere, maybe etc. She doesn't see it that way but has also said it's possible, but if so she was blind to it. I told her I wanted a paternity test and she immediately agreed to it and said no problem at all. My only stipulation was that it couldn't be medically risky or stress-inducing at all as she's a high-risk pregnancy. We both spoke to her doctors about it and they basically told us that our only option was to go to the courthouse because they wouldn't do one without the law involved. Which we both thought was ridiculous. Her doctor was a bit thrown off by it so I didn't press very hard, it was honestly her pretty much demanding it. I knew there were other options. I looked into those other options and ultimately decided to wait until the birth, and I have a lab already set up to do it, ready to go. I'm 95% sure it's unnecessary, but I'm still getting one for my peace of mind and mostly so that nothing will come between me and my child. For those of you that have left me messages of support that I didn't get back to, thank you. I'm going to spend some time going through them tonight before I run off again. For those of you who've left messages that think I should be acting like a 17-year-old high school student and either getting violent, purposely cheating on my wife to prove a point, or other childish trash. Thanks for the entertainment at least. Stop watching TLC and TikTok. That dumbass drama ain't the way, kiddos. And to the one person who suggested I cause an accident with my wife, I hope you end up behind bars someday. It's really likely I'm not going to come back here after tonight until after I get the results from the lab. So if you're really still interested in the results, come back in 1.5-2 months. I've been told the results take about 48 hours once submitted. I'll give you your Maury moment then. OOP answers questions in a comment. Here, just as a preempt, I'm going to post something. I responded to someone else on the last post just a minute ago, but I likely won't check this account until after the birth after this. Comment 1. People seem to be reading into the reasons I thought all this was more than what I said. I've seen dude, they were in bed together. You caught them. Or, they were cuddling under a blanket. Totally get how the telephone game works. But I never said any of that. So I'll clarify, I guess. Here's exactly what I saw. They were on the sectional couch in my living room at either end under the same large blanket, feet to feet. The massage. She was lying on the floor on her side. He was sitting by her feet and rolling one of those big foam rollers on her back and side, which is something I do all the time because she's been complaining about back and outer hip pain. Still enough for me to raise a concern with her. But people seem to be reading into that as they were basically dry humping and thought you couldn't see. Comment 2. I'm being told that I'm being oblivious and ignoring the obvious, and letting her and him off the hook. This is a direct comment I left someone giving my thoughts on that. I think they said something like, this is what guys who choose to have their head in the sand say. My response. Yeah, I'm pretty well aware of that. I've also stated many times that my wife is a high-risk pregnancy, so I've decided to try and not explode things until I know something for a fact and risk what would potentially be the only opportunity I have to have a child at my age. If it turns out I'm wrong and that happens because I blew all this up over nothing, I don't know how I could live with myself. And my marriage likely wouldn't survive that anyway. So, I don't see that as a winning option. If I deal with it calmly and like an adult, and if I'm wrong, then great, we can move on. And if I'm right, then it can still be dealt with accordingly with facts and not speculation. If the child is mine, and the birth goes well, then we have a healthy child and I can deal with the remainder of any damage she has or hasn't done without risking potentially the only child I'm going to have. Trust me. I'm not ignoring it, I'm choosing to support my wife to get through the pregnancy first. Then I'll deal with the rest of it. It's probably been the hardest thing I've ever done emotionally. But here we are. End of copied comment. I know I'm a sarcastic SOB in some of these comments, but honestly thank you for everyone's concern and I have gotten some good advice from people. Mostly this has been a bit cathartic to write all this down as most of my friends are toxic dudes who are more interested in fighting about golf or some other pointless shit. Love me. But I don't really have anyone other than her to talk to about any of this. So honestly, thank you. New updates. OOP added an update on the previous post. Quick update. Today is 9/14. We just got an induction date scheduled on the 26th. Update. 9/29, 1 a.m. Baby boy is here, born 9/27, 7 pounds 10 ounces. He had what the doctors in the OR said was the biggest meconium they've seen in a while on the table, so it was likely he was about 8 pounds when he was born. Labor was induced early morning on the 26th. Labor was like 30 hours. Pushed for like 3 HRS. No progress, ended up in a C-section. He's perfectly healthy, and kind of a tank. I was almost a 10 pounds baby. Mom is dealing with recovery and not having a fun time, but we are getting there. We are being discharged on Tuesday, they tell us. We live about 2 miles from the hospital. So I've been going back to the house to shower and sneak in like an hour or two a couple times. Otherwise I've been here the entire time. As far as paternity, just out of all that entails with the birth of a newborn and recovery and honestly a bit of embarrassment. We haven't started the test, but it's set up and ready to start on Tuesday when we get out of here. So I'll give a final update after the results come back. So maybe another week to 10 days. My honest opinion after looking at this kid is, he is mine. Matt and I are physically very opposite. Different heritages. I'm 6'3", 240 pounds, he's probably 5'8", 175 to 180 pounds. I've always held the belief that babies all generically look the same other than obvious ancestral differences. But yes, this moose of a baby has some obvious traits that would only come from me. Still doing the test, but I'm very much not worried about it. I'll make a new post when I get the results back. Final update results are in October 10th, 2024 TLDR, child is mine. The baby is as healthy as could be so far. Mom, on the other hand, has been having issues. Baby was born on 9/27. Labor was 30 hours, ending in a C-section. 7 pounds 10 ounces. Mom didn't do so well. We were supposed to be in for 4 days and ended up being 8 days. Mom has been back to the hospital twice since. I'm currently sitting in the car with the little guy because Mom's in the emergency room right now. She is making progress but still having a hard time with a few things. As I mentioned before, she has some pre-existing issues that we knew would make this hard. But there have been a few hurdles, but we are getting over them together. As far as paternity, the results came back this morning. Greater than 99.9999 match that I am the father. I did pretty much already know this, but now there is no question and I can put it behind me. My wife and I have had long conversations about all this leading up to the birth, especially around the time of the original post when all this started. We're in a good place, and while it's always going to be there, we both have things to work on communication-wise that came from all this. I did also see Matt today. That's been settled. I'm pretty satisfied that what I saw was it and there wasn't anything else beyond that, and it was a friend helping her with pain the same way I do. I do want to thank everyone who left a message or DM'd me. Good or bad comments, thank you. Talking to the void and all you strangers helped me wait this out. I appreciate it. I'm going to go enjoy my son's company now. Thank you again. Relevant comments. J7488 Congratulations. This may have gotten buried in the comments, but did your wife have a real understanding of the optics of what you saw? She realized how truly suspicious it looked. OOP, yay, she realizes it after she saw the video herself. Believable toadstool. Also, why are you still not informing Matt's wife of what you walked in on? Feels dishonest, she deserves to know and make her own decision. OOP, I didn't walk in on anything. His wife apparently was aware the entire time because Matt told her what was going on. Now to the next story. 6. My sister demanded I be her surrogate, then faked an application. Now she's pregnant, but the shocking truth changed everything. I never expected to share this on Reddit, but life has a way of surprising you. I'm Sarah, 28F, and my life turned upside down around 6 months ago. It all began when my sister, Angelina, 32F, revealed her pregnancy. Angelina and I have always had a difficult connection. We grew up 4 years apart, so we were never in the same stage of life at the same time. Angelina was always the ideal child, all A's, leader of the debate team, and first chair violin in the school orchestra. In contrast, I was a more free-spirited individual. I fared well in school, but I was more interested in computers and programming. Our parents, particularly our mother, always seemed to prefer Angelina. They would attend all of her recitals and debates, but they were sometimes unable to attend my coding competitions. This caused a schism between us that only widened as we grew older. When Angelina met Tom, 34M, in college, it appeared that her ideal life was complete. They married shortly after college, and everyone expected them to begin a family immediately away. But years passed and no baby arrived. Angelina never said much about it, but I could see it bothered her. Meanwhile, I concentrated on my career. I became a software developer, got a terrific job at a tech firm, and purchased my own apartment. I was content with my life, even though it was not the usual route my parents had envisioned for me. So when Angelina announced her pregnancy, I was ecstatic for her. I hoped that this would finally bring us closer as sisters, but then Angelina dropped the bombshell. I was going to be the surrogate mother. Not asked, told. I was shocked. Angelina and I were not close enough for her to believe I would do something like this. We only communicated once a month, and it was generally simply to catch up on the basics. So for her to simply believe I'd carry her baby was mind-boggling. When I tried to tell her I was uncomfortable with the notion, she dismissed it. "Oh, come on, Sarah," she said. "It's not a big deal, you're not using your uterus right now anyway." I couldn't believe what I heard. Not using my uterus? Was she serious? I tried to explain that becoming a surrogate was a big decision that would impact my body, employment, and life for at least 9 months. But Angelina would not listen. She continued saying how she and Tom had been trying for so long. How this was their final opportunity, and how I was being selfish by not wanting to help. Things worsened when our parents became involved. Mom, 56F, and Dad, 58M, agreed with Angelina, as usual. They began phoning me every day, reminding me how important family is and that I should be willing to do everything for my sister. Dad went further. "Sarah, this is your chance to finally do something meaningful with your life." That hurt. I have a fantastic career, my own house, and a life I'm proud of, but none of that matters now since I refused to be an incubator for my sister. It felt like I was back in high school, constantly compared to Angelina and left lacking. The pressure continued increasing. Angelina began telling her extended family and acquaintances about her wonderful sister, who would be her surrogate. She even mentioned it on Facebook before I committed to anything. Suddenly, I began receiving letters from relatives, uncles, and cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, all congratulating me for my selflessness. I attempted to correct the record, but Angelina had already spun her story. Anyone I told the truth to either didn't believe me or thought I was overly theatrical. "It's just 9 months, they'd say. Don't you want your sister to be happy? But it was more than just 9 months. It was my body, profession, and life. I had recently been promoted to lead developer on a significant project at work. How was I meant to handle it while pregnant? What about the health hazards and possible long-term repercussions on my body? Nobody appeared to care about any of this. The final straw came at a family supper. Angelina had asked everyone around to celebrate her imminent surrogacy. I hadn't agreed to anything, but she pretended it was a done deal. As we sat around the table, she began discussing her nursery ideas and her excitement for me to begin hormone therapy. I could not handle it anymore. I stood up and told them the truth. I stated that I had never consented to be a surrogate, that Angelina had lied to everyone, and that I was tired of being bullied and guilted into doing something I did not want to do. The room became quiet. Then all hell broke loose. Angelina erupted into sobs, claiming that I was spoiling her one opportunity at parenthood. Mom and Dad began yelling at me, calling me selfish and callous. Tom merely sat there, looking uneasy. I left the dinner feeling wild. Was I actually the bad guy here? Was I being selfish by refusing to give up my body and life for 9 months? I didn't think so, but my family appeared to think differently. Since that night, things have been strained. Angelina isn't speaking with me. Mom and Dad keep sending guilt-inducing voicemail messages. Even some of my friends have been strange about it, saying things like, "Well, if it was my sister, I'd do it." I'm standing my ground, but it's tough. I feel like I'm losing my family over this, but I also can't believe they're putting so much pressure on me. It's my body, so I get to choose, right? The whole issue has brought back a lot of childhood memories, the continual comparison to Angelina, the sensation that nothing I do is ever good enough for my parents. I thought I'd moved on from that, but the surrogacy turmoil has brought it all back to the surface. I tried talking to Angelina one-on-one in the hopes that she would comprehend my point of view, but she refused to listen. She repeatedly says, "You've always been selfish, and you've never cared about anyone but yourself." It's as if she is rewriting our entire history to fit this narrative in which I'm the terrible person. Tom has been strangely quiet during this affair. When I tried to talk to him about it, he simply said it was between Angelina and me. But shouldn't he have a say over who bears his child? His lack of involvement has me skeptical, but I can't put my finger on why. I do not know what to do. Part of me wants to yield just to end the drama, but I know that is not the appropriate motivation to become a surrogate. Another part of me wants to cut ties with everyone and start over somewhere else. I've been considering shifting to my company's office in another city just to get away from it all. But is running away truly the solution? And what if Angelina tries to carry out this surrogacy plan with someone else? Should I warn them? I suppose I'm writing this to test whether I'm nuts. Am I wrong for refusing to be my sister's surrogate? How do I deal with this circumstance without losing my family completely? Any help would be greatly appreciated, as I now feel like I'm drowning in family drama with no way out. Update. It has been 3 weeks since my last article, and the issue has become even more convoluted. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone who left comments on my first post. Your encouragement and guidance made me feel less insane about the entire thing. I took your advice to heart and chose to stand my ground. I told my family that I would not be a surrogate, no matter how hard they pressed me. For a while, things were too calm. Last week, I received a call from a number I did not know. When I replied, it was a woman claiming to represent a surrogacy agency. She began discussing how they had received my application and were eager to move on with the process. I was confused at first, then frightened when I realized what had happened. Angelina had filed a surrogacy application in my name. She had taken my personal information, forged my signature, and even submitted medical records that she had obtained in some way. I was furious. This wasn't simply crossing a boundary, it was identity theft. I immediately called the agency back and explained the situation. They were understanding, but suggested that I make a police report to protect myself. I was torn. Filing a police report might land Angelina in significant legal danger. At the same moment, she committed an illegal act and violated my privacy severely. I recalled all the instances in our youth when Angelina got away with something because I didn't want to get her in trouble. Like when she shattered Mom's favorite vase and blamed it on me, or when she stole my car in college and got into an accident. After much thinking, I decided to submit the report. It was not an easy decision, but I felt compelled to protect myself. What if Angelina did something like this again? The fallout was swift and severe. Angelina called me, shouting that I was attempting to ruin her life. Mom and Dad were outraged, telling me that I was ripping the family apart. Even Tom, who had generally been silent throughout the episode, left me a furious voicemail. But this is where things become even more difficult. Remember how I mentioned that Angelina and Tom had been trying to have a baby for years? Well, there's a reason behind that. A common buddy contacted me after hearing about the police report. She told me something I didn't know. Tom had a vasectomy years before he met Angelina. This discovery hit me hard, not only because it meant Angelina had been lying about their fertility issues, but also because it reminded me of when Angelina and Tom initially started dating years earlier. I overheard a chat between them at a family cookout. Tom had mentioned that he did not want children, and Angelina concurred, stating she was also unsure about motherhood. I hadn't given it much attention at the time, but it suddenly felt significant. Tom apparently did not desire children. He told Angelina this when they first started dating, and she stated she was fine with it. However, as the years passed, Angelina got enamored with the prospect of having a baby. She began pressing Tom, who eventually agreed to consider adoption or surrogacy to make her happy. This new information led me to doubt everything. Why was Angelina so desperate for a baby when she had previously been content with not having children? And why go to such measures to make me a surrogate when you could simply adopt or locate a willing surrogate through normal channels? I wasn't sure what to do with this information. Part of me wanted to face Angelina and reveal all her falsehoods. But another part of me felt bad for her. Was she so desperate for a baby that she would engage in such deception? In the end, I opted to speak with Tom first. I met him for coffee and told him everything, including Angelina's falsehoods, the surrogacy push, and what a mutual acquaintance had told me. Tom was shocked. He stated that he had agreed to Angelina's surrogacy plan because he felt it would make her happy, but he was unaware of the magnitude of her deception. As we talked, Tom opened up about his own marital troubles. He admitted that he and Angelina had been having troubles for years, primarily due to their disagreement about having children. He stated he had pondered leaving several times but stayed because he loved Angelina and hoped she would alter her mind about having children. Tom seemed shocked as he exited our meeting. I felt awful for him, but also relieved that the truth was finally being revealed. I wondered whether this would be the push he needed to finally confront Angelina and possibly end their marriage. As for Angelina and my parents, I'm still unsure how to continue. The police are investigating the identity theft, and I'm concerned about what will happen to Angelina. Despite everything, she is still my sister. I keep remembering back to our youth, to the times when we truly got along. Like the summer we spent at our grandparents' farm, sitting up late to watch meteor showers and collecting fireflies in jars. It's difficult to reconcile those recollections with who Angelina has become. Mom and Dad are still not speaking with me. They believe I'm making things up to get out of being a surrogate. It aches, but I'm trying to be tough. I've begun seeing a therapist to help me cope with the stress and complex feelings that this scenario has brought up. I'm seriously considering moving out of state for a while to get away from all the turmoil. My employer has an office in another city and I'm considering requesting a transfer. The prospect of a fresh start is appealing, but I'm also concerned about running away from my troubles. So that's where things are now. My family is in tatters, my sister may be in legal problems, and I'm considering starting afresh in a different city. I didn't expect to be where I am now a month ago, but that is life. I'll keep everyone updated on what occurs next. Thank you again for all of your help, it means more than you realize. Update 2. It's been 2 months since my previous update, and just as I thought things couldn't be any more complicated, life threw me another curveball. First, let me catch you up on what has been happening. Angelina was charged with fraud following the identity theft incident. It was a misdemeanor, but she had to pay a fine and complete community service. Tom filed for divorce, unable to overcome Angelina's falsehoods about desiring children and the entire surrogacy disaster. I did in fact accept that transfer. I've been living in a different place for the past month, attempting to rebuild my life away from all of the family pain. It's been challenging but also refreshing. I've found some new acquaintances, put myself into work, and even begun seeing a therapist to deal with the stress of the last several months. But this is when things take a surprising turn. My mom called me last week. My parents had not spoken to me since the police report, so I was startled to hear from her. I almost did not respond, but something told me I should. When I picked up, my mother was in tears. She managed to tell me about Angelina's pregnancy despite her cries. Naturally, I was perplexed. How could Angelina be pregnant if Tom had a vasectomy and they were getting divorced? Well, it turns out that the baby is not Tom's. It isn't even biologically Angelina's. My mother eventually revealed the truth. Angelina had been lying about everything since the beginning. Angelina is not infertile, she never has been. The entire trying for years story was a pure lie. She wanted me to be a surrogate because she didn't want to go through the pregnancy herself. Apparently, Angelina has always been afraid of pregnancy and childbirth. This concern derives from a horrific occurrence she experienced as a teenager that I was unaware of. When Angelina was 16, she witnessed our cousin's difficult pregnancy and near-fatal birth. It had a lasting impression on her, instilling a strong fear of pregnancy. But Angelina too desperately wanted a baby. Or so she thought. When Tom told her he didn't want children, she saw it as an ideal chance. She might play the needy, infertile wife and coerce someone else, me, into carrying a baby for her. But when her plan with me fell through, she panicked. She began seeing this person behind Tom's back. Let us call him Mike. Mike got her pregnant, and Angelina is suddenly confronted with the same situation she was attempting to avoid. I was speechless. All of our family's drama and pain sprang from Angelina's fear of being pregnant. It seemed too ludicrous to be true, but as my mother talked, more truths emerged. My parents stated that they had been aware of Angelina's pregnancy fear for many years. They agreed to her surrogacy idea because they believed it would help her overcome her fear. They never considered how it would affect me or how wrong it was to coerce someone into becoming a surrogate. I felt a mixture of emotions. Rage at the deception, relief that the truth had finally been revealed, and a strange sense of vindication. After months of being called selfish and callous, it turns out I was correct all along. My mother spent a long time apologizing. She and my father understood how horribly they had messed up and how unfairly they treated me. They asked whether I could forgive them. I informed her that I needed time to comprehend things. The realization that my entire family had been lying to me for months, if not years, was difficult to process. I replied that I'd think about it and get back to her. Angelina appears to be a hot mess. The pregnancy she worked so hard to avoid has become a reality. Tom refuses to take her back, and Mike wants nothing to do with the baby. She is alone, afraid, and finally confronting the repercussions of her choices. A part of me feels sad for her, but another is still outraged at all the agony she has caused. I'm not sure whether I'll ever be able to have a connection with her again, but I'm trying to find faith in my heart that she'll get the care she needs. So that's where things are now. My family's web of falsehoods has finally unraveled, leaving us all to deal with the consequences. I'm still absorbing everything and trying to figure out how to proceed. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I do know this. I'm glad I kept my stand. If there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's that you should always believe your instincts, even if everyone else tells you otherwise. The entire event has caused me to ponder on our family dynamics. Growing up, Angelina was always the golden child, while I was the black sheep. Now it appears that those roles have been flipped. It's an unusual sensation, and I'm not sure how to manage it. I've talked to my therapist about it all. She's guiding me through my feelings of betrayal and rage. It's a slow process, but I'm starting to see results. Regarding my job, the change has been a blessing. I'm working on an intriguing new project that keeps me occupied and diverted from the family drama. My new co-workers are wonderful, and I'm slowly beginning to feel like I belong here. I am still unsure how to proceed with my family. Part of me wants to forgive them and try to repair our connection. Another part of me is frightened of being harmed again. I keep thinking about how many times I've forgiven them only to see them revert back to their old ways. For now, I'm taking things one day at a time. I've informed my folks I need space, and they're surprisingly understanding. Angelina has tried to contact me several times, but I'm not ready to talk to her yet. I'll keep you updated if anything important happens, but for the time being, I'm focusing on healing and going forward with my life. Thank you for your continued support throughout this insane adventure. Update 3. It's been a half year since my last update, so I thought it was appropriate to share where things are now. A lot has changed. And while not everything is perfect, I believe I'm now in a decent place. First, the major news. Angelina gave birth to a little girl around 2 months ago. Despite her anxieties, the pregnancy and birth went well. According to what I've heard, she is adjusting to motherhood better than anyone expected. It appears that the reality of having a child has shifted her perspective on many issues. I wasn't present at the birth, but my parents kept me updated. They sent me images of the baby, and I must admit, she's lovely. It's weird to believe I have a niece now, especially with everything that has transpired. My relationship with my family is difficult. After reflecting on everything, I decided to give my parents the opportunity to make amends. We've had many lengthy, challenging discussions on trust, respect, and boundaries. They have apologized several times and appear to sincerely grasp how bad their acts were. We are gradually restoring our relationship, but it is not the same as before. I'm more careful and guarded now, but I'm also proud of myself for establishing and maintaining clear boundaries. My parents understand that if they try to manipulate or pressure me again, I will not hesitate to cut them off altogether. My friendship with Angelina remains strained. I've seen her and the infant several times, always with other family members present. It's awkward and stressful, but we're respectful. Angelina has apologized for her behavior, but I'm not quite ready to forgive her yet. The loss of confidence was massive and it will take a long time to recover, if it ever does. Angelina is struggling as a single mother, but she is receiving support from our parents and attending treatment to address her worries and difficulties. She has even formed a support group for ladies suffering from tocophobia, fear of pregnancy and childbirth. It's encouraging to see her take measures to confront her issues, even if it's too late to reverse the damage she's created. On a personal note, I am doing great. I've opted to stay in the new city. I've created a life here that I'm content with. My career is going well, and I've made some amazing friends. I've even begun seeing someone. It's early days, but it feels nice to be progressing. The entire surrogacy drama feels like a distant nightmare now. Looking back, I can't believe how insane things went. But I'm glad I had the experience. It taught me a lot about sticking up for myself, setting boundaries, and refusing to compromise my values, even when it was painful. I've also learned a lot about forgiveness, both offering and receiving it. It's not easy, and it won't happen tomorrow, but it is doable. I'm still working on forgiving Angelina, but I've discovered that hanging on to my resentment only harms me in the long term. My therapist has been quite helpful in guiding me through all of this. We've started looking into my childhood experiences and how they've influenced my relationships with my family. It's been eye-opening to see how many of our current problems derive from long-standing patterns. One of the most difficult obstacles has been learning to accept my parents and Angelina as flawed individuals rather than the larger-than-life figures they were while I was growing up. It's a process, but I'm getting there. I've also been attempting to establish a support system outside of my family. My new friends here have been fantastic, providing support and understanding without judgment. It made me realize how much I was missing by constantly prioritizing my family. So that is where things stand right now. My family is slowly recuperating, but we will never be the same as before. I'm creating a life I enjoy on my own terms, and most importantly, I'm content with my choices. To anyone in a similar circumstance, stay firm, believe your instincts, and don't let anyone pressure you into doing something you're not comfortable with, even if they're family. Always make your own decisions about your body. Thank you for your continued support along this journey. Your advice and encouragement benefited me more than you realize. I am not sure if I will update again, but I wanted to let you know that I'm okay, better than fine. I'm thriving. Now to the next story 7. My mother-in-law called me infertile, my wife supported her, so I divorced and married her cousin. Now I'm a father to twins. I never expected to be discussing my life story on Reddit, yet here I am, desperate for guidance from strangers on the internet. I'm a 35-year-old man, and my life has transformed into a soap opera that I never signed up for. Let me start at the beginning. I met my wife Evelyn in our second year of college. We were both studying business and ended up doing the same group project for our marketing class. Evelyn was a whirlwind of enthusiasm and drive. She had her entire life planned out. Graduate with honors, get a position at a top firm, advance up the corporate ladder, and eventually start her own business. I was more of a go-with-the-flow type of person, but her determination encouraged me. We began dating a few months later, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I had a purpose. Evelyn motivated me to be better and seek more for myself. We graduated together and both got decent entry-level jobs at competitive organizations. The first few years were difficult, long hours, tight money, and little time together. But we made it work. 3 years into our relationship, I proposed. I had been saving for months to purchase the right ring. I had planned a romantic evening that included a gourmet dinner, a walk in the park where we shared our first kiss, and then proposing under the stars. But life had different plans. Evelyn contacted me in tears on the day I planned to propose. She'd been passed over for a promotion she'd been pursuing for months. She was heartbroken, questioning her job choices and personal value. I canceled my elaborate plan and instead arrived at her place with her favorite takeout and a bottle of wine. As we sat on her tiny balcony, commiserating about the unfairness of corporate life, I realized there would never be a better time. I pulled out the ring and asked her to marry me right there, in our work clothes and surrounded by empty takeout containers. Evelyn agreed, and everything seemed perfect for a little moment. Then came wedding planning, which marked my first genuine interaction with Karen, Evelyn's mother. I'd met Karen a few times previously, but she was always in groups and on her best behavior. Karen's real colors emerged when she began to prepare her only daughter's wedding. Nothing was ever good enough. The space was too small, the cuisine was too exotic, and the music was too contemporary. She questioned every decision we made, from the color of the tablecloths to the design of my tuxedo. Evelyn attempted to mediate, but it was evident she was straining to stand up to her mother. The breaking point came when Karen insisted on inviting Evelyn's ex-boyfriend, Tom. Apparently, Tom's parents were longtime family friends, and it would be impolite not to include them. I put my foot down, and to my amazement, Evelyn supported me. It was the first time I had seen her truly stand up to her mother, and I was proud of her. The wedding event was stunning, despite Karen's best efforts to micromanage every detail. Evelyn was radiant, and as we exchanged vows, I honestly believed we could face whatever life threw at us. The first few years of our marriage went well. We both advanced in our careers, purchased a small home in the suburbs, and began discussing having children. Evelyn wanted to wait until we were more financially secure, and I understood. We were doing well, but children are expensive, and Evelyn had huge hopes for her career. Around our 5th wedding anniversary, I started to feel ready for fatherhood. My brother had recently had his second child, and seeing him with his children sparked something in me. I brought up the matter with Evelyn, but she was hesitant. She was up for a significant promotion and didn't want to risk it with a pregnancy. I tried to remain patient, but as another year passed, I couldn't stop feeling that our lives were on wait. We had many discussions about the best time to have a kid, but there was always another excuse to postpone: a major project at work, a scheduled vacation, or a potential career change. Finally, 2 years ago, Evelyn agreed it was time. We were equally enthusiastic, visualizing nursery colors and discussing baby names. However, as months passed without a positive pregnancy test, our excitement turned to concern. After a year of trying, we decided to consult a reproductive doctor. The doctor suggested that we both get tested to rule out any problems. I went for my testing soon away, ready to get the results. My findings came back normal, which was a relief, but it also put more pressure on Evelyn. However, Evelyn continued to postpone her appointments. At first, it seemed understandable. She had a huge presentation at work, and then she got the flu. However, as the weeks and months passed, I became increasingly agitated. Every time I mentioned it, Evelyn would become defensive or shift the conversation. That's when Karen became involved. She'd phone Evelyn repeatedly to see if there was any news. When Evelyn visited her parents, she returned home unhappy, claiming Karen had been pressing her about grandkids. I tried to be supportive, but I couldn't help but feel Evelyn was allowing her mother to have too much control over our life. Things came to a head last Thanksgiving. We were in Karen's home, surrounded by family. Karen had been drinking wine all day and was in excellent form. She began talking about how all of her friends were becoming grandparents and how she was starting to feel left out. Then she looked at me and said, "It's a shame Evelyn married someone who can't have children. I've always known you weren't man enough." The room became silent. I felt as though I had been slapped. Evelyn simply sat there, staring at her plate. I attempted to explain that we were still trying and that these things take time, but Karen refused to give up. She kept making barbs at my masculinity, saying Evelyn should have married Tom instead. At least he came from a good family. I could not handle it anymore. All of the frustration from the previous year spilled out. I stood up and informed everyone at the table that I was not the problem. My fertility tests had come back normal. Evelyn hadn't even bothered getting tested yet. The aftermath was unpleasant. Evelyn was furious with me for breaching her confidence, and Karen was on a rampage, calling me every term in the book. I left the house and spent the night at a motel, trying to figure out what went wrong. Evelyn remained unhappy when I returned home the next day. She accused me of embarrassing her in front of her relatives. I attempted to explain that I couldn't bear being blamed and chastised for something I didn't do, but she didn't listen. Things have remained tight ever since. Evelyn is still refusing to be tested and she is now giving me the cold shoulder. Karen has been phoning and messaging non-stop, asking that I apologize to Evelyn and her. I disabled her phone number, but she keeps finding new ways to bother me. I do not know what to do. I adore Evelyn, but I'm beginning to wonder if we want the same things in life. I feel as if I'm constantly walking on eggshells, trying not to offend her or arouse Karen's fury. To make matters more confusing, Evelyn's cousin Emma contacted me yesterday. Emma and I had always gotten along great. She's a few years younger than us and has always been the family's black sheep, opting to become a teacher rather than work in the family business like Evelyn. Emma claimed she overheard what occurred on Thanksgiving and wanted to make sure I was okay. We ended up speaking for hours. It was wonderful to have someone on my side for once, someone who understood how controlling Karen could be. Now I'm at a crossroads. Part of me wants to fight for my marriage, to show Evelyn how destructive her relationship with her mother is. But another part of me wonders if it's time to cut my losses. I'm 35 years old and wish to become a father. I don't want to wake up at 45, resentful and childless, resenting Evelyn for denying me the opportunity to start a family. I never imagined I would be in this position. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Am I wrong for defending myself? Should I have remained silent and let Karen continue to berate me? How do I persuade Evelyn that her mother's behavior is harming our marriage? Update 1. It's been a month since my first post, and to say a lot has happened is an understatement. I would like to thank everyone for their advice and support. Your thoughts provided me with valuable perspective on my position. After reviewing your responses, I realized I needed to have a serious chat with Evelyn. I couldn't stay in this limbo, with unsaid tensions and resentments growing between us. I decided to take the day off work and asked Evelyn to do the same. I wanted us to have time to communicate without being distracted. That morning, I cooked Evelyn's favorite breakfast, blueberry pancakes with real maple syrup. When we initially got married, I used to do it every Sunday, but we eventually stopped finding time for those small gestures. As we sat at our kitchen table, with the familiar smell of pancakes in the air, I had a flicker of optimism that we might be able to reconnect. I began by apologizing for my outburst during Thanksgiving. I emphasized that, while I regretted how I handled the situation, I couldn't apologize for the feelings that drove it. I told Evelyn how wounded I was by her silence, how I felt unsupported and blamed for something I didn't do. To my amazement, Evelyn broke down. Through her sobs, she admitted that she had been tested months earlier and discovered that she had some fertility concerns. She was hesitant to tell me because she feared I would abandon her. She had kept this secret for months, leading me to believe she was simply procrastinating on the examinations. I was surprised and disappointed that she had withheld this from me, but I tried to be understanding. I asked her why she believed I'd leave her over this, and her response crushed my heart. She stated that her mother always emphasized that a woman's worth was determined by her capacity to have children. Karen had pounded it into Evelyn's head that if she couldn't give her husband children, he would eventually leave her for someone who could. It was like a light bulb went out in my head. Many of Evelyn's actions over the last year now made sense: her reluctance to take tests, her defensiveness whenever I mentioned children, her silence in the face of her mother's attacks on me. Everything stemmed from a deep-seated anxiety that she wasn't woman enough. We talked for hours that day, finally opening up to one another in a manner we hadn't in years. We agreed to begin couples counseling to improve our communication and assist Evelyn overcome some of the detrimental notions ingrained in her by her mother. We even began looking at adoption and IVF options, feeling like we were finally on the same page about our future. For a few weeks, things appeared to be improving. Our counseling sessions were going well, and Evelyn appeared more comfortable and happy than she had in months. We were reconnecting again, recovering the love that had been lost among the tension and bitterness. But then Karen became involved again. She somehow learned about Evelyn's fertility troubles. Evelyn's sister, who has always been a gossiper, may have leaked the information. Instead of being there for her kid during this tough time, Karen went on a tirade. She began calling me every day, leaving long rambling voicemails blaming me for freaking Evelyn out and giving her fertility difficulties. She'd say things such as, "If you were a real man, you'd have given her a baby by now." Adding, "I always knew you weren't good enough for her." I attempted to ban her number, but she simply used different phones to call. Then she began coming up at our house unannounced, requesting to talk with Evelyn alone. The first time it happened, I arrived home from work to find Evelyn crying on the couch, and Karen pacing around our living room, yelling about how we needed to try harder. How Evelyn wasn't doing enough to fix herself. I asked Evelyn to create boundaries with her mother, but she always found an excuse. "That's just how Mom is," she'd explain. "She's just worried about me." It felt like we were right back where we started, with Evelyn unwilling to stand up to her mother and me feeling like an outsider in my own marriage. Things came to a head last week. I arrived home early from work, expecting to surprise Evelyn with tickets to a performance she had been longing to see. Instead, I stepped in and found Karen in our living room, reading over our personal documents. She said she was looking for our medical records since she didn't think Evelyn had fertility concerns. She assumed we were lying to cover up my shortcomings. I lost it. I told Karen to leave our home and keep out of our business. I informed her that her behavior was toxic and was ruining her relationship with her daughter. Instead of supporting me, Evelyn burst into tears, complaining that I was being too harsh on her mother. Evelyn and I got into a big fight that night, after Karen left. I informed her that I couldn't keep living this way, with her mother continuously intruding in our life and Evelyn letting it. I said that I felt wedded to both of them, not just Evelyn. Evelyn accused me of being selfish and not seeing how painful this was for her. In the heat of the moment, I said something that I regret. I told Evelyn that if she couldn't stand up to her mother, she probably wasn't ready to be a mother herself. It was a low blow, and I realized it as soon as the words left my mouth. Evelyn slapped me and shut herself in our bedroom. I spent the night on the couch, feeling disoriented and bewildered. Evelyn had left the next morning. She left a note explaining that she was going to stay with her parents for a bit to clear her mind. It's been 5 days and I still haven't heard from her. Karen, on the other hand, has been bombarding my phone with angry messages. She's telling everyone who will listen that I kicked Evelyn out and left her. Some of Evelyn's family have called and demanded to know why I'm abusing her. I feel as if I'm living in a warped other universe in which I'm the bad guy for desiring a healthy relationship with my wife. I'm at my wit's end. I love Evelyn, but I'm not sure I can keep going like this. Stress has an impact on my work. I've been preoccupied and unpleasant, and my supervisor has noticed. My health is also deteriorating. I've lost weight, am not sleeping well, and am continuously on edge. Emma has been a fantastic help throughout this. She's been checking in on me, bringing me meals, and listening when I need to scream. She knows family dynamics better than anyone because she grew up with them. She has told me stories of how they treated her when she opted to become a teacher rather than work in the family business. It has helped me better comprehend Evelyn's conduct, but it has also highlighted how deeply embedded these harmful behaviors are. I appreciate Emma's friendship, but I can't stop feeling bad about how close we've grown. There's nothing wrong going on, but I understand how it may appear to others, especially because Karen has painted me as the villain in all of this. I am considering asking Evelyn for a trial separation. I believe we both need some time to find out what we truly want and whether we can make this marriage work, but I'm afraid of what Karen will do if I offer it. I would not be surprised if she tried to turn the entire family against me. I never imagined I would be in this predicament. I've always felt that love was enough, that if you loved for someone you could overcome anything. Now I am not so sure. I feel like I'm drowning, and I'm not sure how to save myself, let alone my marriage. Any help on how to proceed would be greatly appreciated. How can I defend myself without fully burning bridges? Is there any chance for Evelyn and me, or am I only prolonging the inevitable? And how do I handle Karen's slander campaign against me? I'm feeling a little lost right now, so any advice would be appreciated. Update 2. It has been 3 months since my previous update, and my life has drastically changed. I'm still trying to digest all that has happened, but I'll do my best to update you all. After Evelyn departed, I attempted to give her some room. I figured that some time apart would help us both clear our minds and figure out what we truly wanted. But as the days passed into weeks, I knew something had profoundly shifted in our connection. During this period, I immersed myself in work and began seeing a therapist on my own. It was helping me acquire a better understanding of my marriage and my role in our troubles. I discovered that, while Karen was a major issue, Evelyn and I had communication issues that existed prior to her meddling. Evelyn contacted me about a month after she had departed. She asked to meet at the cafe where we had our first date. I was optimistic that we could work things out, but that was swiftly dashed when I arrived at the cafe. Evelyn was already present, seated at our old favorite table by the window. She appeared worn and unhappy, but there was a determination in her eyes that I had never seen before. We ordered our normal drinks, a latte for her and a black coffee for me, and it seemed like old times. But when Evelyn began talking, I realized this was not going to be the reunion I had hoped for. She informed me that she had been doing a lot of thinking and did not want to prolong our marriage. She stated that she believed we had different goals in life, and that the stress of the previous few months had demonstrated that we were incompatible. I was stunned. I inquired about couples counseling and improving our communication skills, but Evelyn had already made her decision. She said that she wasn't ready for children and might never be. She understood how important being a father was to me and did not want to prevent me from pursuing it. What hurt the most was when she revealed that Karen had a significant influence on her decision. Apparently, Karen persuaded Evelyn that I was emotionally abusive and that she deserved better. Evelyn really apologized for allowing me to mistreat her for so long. It seemed as if she was repeating Karen's comments, and I didn't recognize the lady I had married. Evelyn handed me divorce papers that were previously signed. She claimed her lawyer will contact us about dividing our assets. Then she stood up and departed, leaving me sitting there with a cold coffee and the ruins of my marriage. The following several weeks were a blur. I poured myself into work, hoping to distract myself from the anguish. I stopped taking calls from Evelyn's family members because I was tired of defending myself against Karen's lies. My own family was supportive, But they resided across the country and were unable to provide much practical assistance. Emma was there for me through everything. She'd bring over takeout, force me to go for walks, and simply sit with me when I needed company. She understood the family dynamic in a way that no one else did, and it was reassuring to speak with someone who recognized how manipulative Karen could be. As I spent more time with Emma, I began to see her in a new light. She was nice, encouraging, and appeared to understand me in a way Evelyn never did. I found myself looking forward to our time together, and her presence made me feel lighter and happier. After a few too many beers, Emma confessed to having affections for me for years. She claimed she never acted on them out of respect for Evelyn, but now that we were getting divorced, she couldn't keep it in any longer. I felt conflicted. Part of me thought it was too soon, that I should be mourning my marriage, but another part understood that Emma made me happier than I had been in a long time. We agreed to take things slowly, giving ourselves time to see whether this was genuine or just a reaction to all that had transpired. We began dating secretly. I understand that dating your soon-to-be ex-wife's cousin is unusual, but it felt natural. Emma understood my pain and history as no one else could. She encouraged me to continue going to therapy, to work through my feelings about the divorce and my concerns about starting a new relationship. Of course, when Evelyn and Karen found out, chaos ensued. Karen began spreading accusations about me throughout the family, claiming I had been cheating on Evelyn with Emma all along. Some family members who had previously been sympathetic to me became chilly, believing Karen's lies. Evelyn was hurt and angry, accusing me of moving too fast. The irony of Evelyn being concerned about me moving on was not lost on me, given that she was the one who left and filed for divorce. But I had had enough of Karen and Evelyn controlling my life and happiness. I realize this update may make me sound like the evil guy, but I'm finally putting myself first. Emma and I are happy, and we are taking things one day at a time. The divorce is proceeding, and while it is difficult, I am feeling hopeful about the future for the first time in a long time. It's not the life I imagined for myself, but it might be the one I need. I'm learning to trust my own emotions and needs instead of continually attempting to please others. It is a work in progress, but I'm getting there. Update 3. It's been a year since my previous update, and it's been an eventful one. I couldn't have imagined where life would lead me, but I'm happier than I've been in a long time. The divorce was finalized 6 months ago. It was not easy. Karen attempted to fight it, claiming that I had been unfaithful during our marriage. Fortunately, my lawyer was able to refute these claims, and the judge saw through Karen's attempts to manipulate the proceedings. We eventually reached an agreement on a fair asset allocation, and I was able to keep the house. Emma and I are still together, and our bond has become even stronger. We moved in together 4 months ago, and it has been fantastic. She understands me in ways Evelyn never did, and we talk frankly about everything. We've had our hurdles, of course. Blending our lives hasn't always been easy, but we confront them all together. The biggest news, however, is Emma's pregnancy with twins. We found out a few months ago and are ecstatic. It's ironic given Evelyn's fertility issues, but I suppose life has a way of surprising you. We weren't actively attempting, but we weren't stopping it either. When Emma handed me the positive test, I felt a combination of delight, excitement, and dread that I had never felt before. We're renovating the spare room into a nursery, and Emma has been reading every parenting book she can find. I am worried about becoming a father, especially with twins, but I am also excited. Emma's quiet confidence is encouraging. She continues telling me that we'll figure things out together. When we told our relatives about our pregnancy, their emotions were diverse. Emma's parents were overjoyed, but Karen went crazy. She began spreading further tales, claiming Emma had abducted me from Evelyn and imprisoned me in a pregnancy. It is ludicrous, but some people appeared to believe her. Evelyn's reaction was surprising. She contacted me directly for the first time since our divorce. She congratulated us but simultaneously expressed her hurt. I understood her pain, and part of me felt guilty, but I also realized I couldn't live my life based on Evelyn's emotions any longer. We had a long, honest chat that provided us both with closure. She stated that she had been unduly influenced by her mother and regretted how our relationship had ended. The pregnancy announcement appeared to be a wake-up call for Evelyn. She eventually stood up to Karen, urging her not to spread lies about me and Emma. It was too little, too late for our relationship, but I still appreciated it. Evelyn and I aren't buddies, but we're getting along better than I imagined. Karen attempted to stir trouble one final time. She showed up unannounced at our house, asking to speak with Emma. She attempted to persuade Emma that I would desert her and the babies, just as I abandoned Evelyn. Emma, bless her heart, remained firm and urged Karen in no uncertain terms to get out of our lives. I am proud of Emma's handling of the matter. She's strong in a subtle way, always confident in herself and our relationship. It's a relief after years of walking on eggshells with Evelyn and Karen. As for me, I'm still in therapy, dealing with the difficulties from my marriage and preparing for fatherhood. I've reconnected with old pals who had drifted apart throughout my marriage, and I'm establishing a support network separate from Emma's family. Work is going great. I was promoted a few months back, which couldn't have happened at a better time given the infants on the way. Emma is taking a year off from teaching when the twins are born, and my increased pay will help us cover that. Looking back, everything has been a tumultuous ride. There were times when I believed my life was falling apart, but now I realize it was simply falling into place. Emma and I are thrilled to start our family, and I am looking forward to this new chapter in my life. I understand that this may not be the joyful ending that some people expected, but it is mine. Life does not always go as planned, but sometimes the unexpected turns take us exactly where we need to go. I am glad for the lessons I have learned, even the hard ones, and I look forward to the future with hope and optimism. Now to the next story 8. Helping my brother leave his bride at the altar because she invited our estranged mother. A family drama unfolds with surprising twists. We are 34, 32, and 28, while his ex-fiancée is 30. Not in the US. I have 2 older brothers. This is about the middle one. Our parents split when I was quite young, owing to our mother's irrational jealousy. My father was able to deal with it at first, but when she made comments about wanting me to be like his wife, he had had enough. She quickly reconnected with a man with 2 children and shared custody for a period. But when my father remarried, she went insane, calling his new wife every awful term and claiming he had cheated on her while they were married. I was always closer to my brothers and father than my mother, who was always harsh to me. Long story short, my stepmother died in a horrific car accident and my father contacted her in the middle of the night to tell her he would pick us up earlier so we could attend the burial. She chose to take us on a nice trip instead to commemorate something. It was the happiest we had ever seen her, and when we understood what had happened and began crying, she informed us that only useless people cry for prostitutes. Needless to say, things escalated, and my father requested full custody with visitation privileges for her. He always kept the lines of communication open and paid for us to see her after she moved away, but it was still really unpleasant. We began reducing contact with her as soon as we turned 18. We last saw her at my high school graduation, where she made it a point to tell everyone that we were ungrateful kids, and her husband also called us names. We have remained no contact, NC, since then. My brother Sam began dating his ex 3 years ago. She had heard all of the stories and reasons we were NC, but she thought we were being theatrical. They had many disagreements because of her ideas, but she ultimately appeared to abandon the "you need to reconcile with your mother" crusade. Throughout the wedding preparation process, there was no sign that anything was incorrect or suspicious. Then, on the wedding day, we arrived at the church and saw our mother, her husband, and 2 children sitting in the front row. I instantly panicked and contacted my brothers. Sam suspected she had found out and wanted to crash the wedding, so he called his ex to tell her of the potential turmoil. She assured him that everything was fine because she had invited them. Sam hung up and asked me to go fetch him while our older brother handled things at the church. We went home and barricaded ourselves, even while his ex, her family, friends, and others attempted to reason with him. Mom's spouse even called to say he had always known we were useless. Now that the dust has settled, the majority of Sam's friends and family support him. Our father's ex-in-laws have already threatened to sue for the money they paid for the wedding if Sam does not marry her, but Sam says he would rather repay them than marry someone who has betrayed him. Our nuclear family wholeheartedly supports Sam, but the blowback has been massive. Edit. You just reassured us all, so thank you. Some have asked, and she hasn't apologized. She also texted my oldest brother Joe, saying she felt inviting our mother would be a nice wedding gift for Sam because she values family. My father purchased them a house as a wedding present, but only Sam is on the paperwork. She had keys for when they moved in, but we only got the locks changed today. Joe and other cousins are relocating Sam's belongings from her apartment this week. We aren't concerned about being sued, but we will consult a lawyer just in case. We also learned that Mom and her family are still in town, but because we're all staying at our childhood home for a few days, we don't mind. My father is saddened that Sam is heartbroken, but he is doing his best to cheer him up, along with my boyfriend and sister-in-law. I had to deactivate my social media accounts because I was receiving abusive remarks and messages, but the more people hear about why Sam fled, the less messages I receive. I am still sorry that she was humiliated, but my brother comes first. Edit 2. I questioned Joe about the aftermath at the church, and it was precisely what I imagined. He claims he stood up in front of everyone and informed them Sam wasn't coming and that they should go home. All presents delivered to our side of the family will be promptly returned. The ex was still outside the church when someone from her family notified her. And she began yelling and wailing, constantly contacting Sam. Mom tried to speak with Joe, but he didn't even glance at her. When she couldn't obtain a reaction from him, she burst into tears, lamenting how cruel we are to her. Some people began to console her, as is customary for her, but Joe and his wife were unconcerned. When they left the church, the ex was waiting for them and demanded to see Sam. Joe resisted, telling her no. Then she wanted to know what to do about the party, to which Joe said that if she didn't want the venue, he would arrange for the food to be distributed to the workers so that it didn't go to waste. Everyone was shouting except Joe, who kept calm since he didn't want to satisfy Mom. Joe and my sister-in-law returned home after stopping at the store and various fast food restaurants, and we've been inside the house like kids again, with a few more members. When we asked Sam if he wanted them to leave, he insisted on staying. We had all planned to spend time with our families following the wedding, so it was not an issue. When the ex arrived at the gate, we understood she was not going to use the venue, so my sister-in-law called the venue with Sam's information and asked them to give the food. She also sent some advice for their problems. It appears that we will receive all of the alcohol that my father paid for, so we will be pretty drunk by the end of the year. A few people messaged me, asking why our father ever married our mother. The answer is simple: he adored her and felt she was the nicest person imaginable. It turned out she wasn't, but she knew no one else, except possibly her unpleasant husband, would marry her unless she seemed to be kind. Dad even considered staying with her until we were grown-ups, but her condition worsened. She used to be really sweet, and he thought she was changing, but she would then revert back. As for my ex-sister-in-law, we have no doubt she feels our mother is a nice person with ungrateful children since she can be incredibly charming. Some individuals find it amusing to make fun of others as long as it is not directed at them, but this does not excuse what she did. Sam's only explanation was to his boss, who attended the wedding. His boss was quite kind and surprised by what our mother put us through, given how well adjusted and happy we appear. Our father stated it was a shock for all of us, and he told Sam to stay home for as long as he needed. Sam is returning home for the time being. I showed the post to my family, who were affected by your thoughtfulness. Sam wants you to know that his ex-fiancée did not exhibit any alarming behaviors, and he honestly believes she understood his upbringing. He agreed to meet with her and her parents today, but only if it was at our house, where we could support him. It will be an interesting visit. Update: Sam lost some money, but it will not affect him. Her parents paid for her outfit, a very beautiful cake and a portion of the honeymoon. His ex wasn't the most popular in-law, but we believe she adored Sam. We don't have any touch with Mom's side. Joe used to communicate with our grandmother, but after his wedding, another disaster, he cut her off too. Mom's statements about me wanting to be the wife stemmed from her idea that we shouldn't have daddy-daughter days. However, there were also Daddy Joe and Daddy Sam days. Dad constantly attempted to spend time with us, both individually and as a group. She's just unwell. We don't advertise our childhood, so when others inquire about our parents, the typical response is, "It's just my dad." Or "It's just my siblings and my dad." Most people assume Mom is deceased, avoiding the unpleasant question about why we don't speak to her. Mom's stepchildren are both male and in their early 30s. Our father now has a long-term girlfriend, and we really enjoy her. She's been doing her own thing over the last 3 days, but she says we have her full support. The update: I was curious why Sam agreed to the meeting after not speaking with her, but it turns out she sent videos and images of all his possessions on the floor to his best buddy, Tom, and threatened to burn or destroy everything unless Sam spoke with her. Tom went to see Sam and told him what had transpired. They advised her that they needed entry to the flat before anything could happen. Tom, Joe, a few cousins, and my boyfriend went over to pack Sam's clothes, devices, and crucial documentation. Sam joked that they were the fastest moving staff he'd ever witnessed. The meeting, for lack of a better term, was absurd. She arrived with her parents and sisters and attempted to speak to Sam alone, but when he refused, she simply began chatting. Not once did she apologize. She stated it was not her fault that we don't appreciate the value of a true family and were trained to despise mothers. She stated that her main purpose was to teach Sam to value mothers because she was terrified he would take her children from her, as he had been taught to do. Sam said nothing until she called our family a cult and humiliated our father. As you might expect, this is a sore subject for all of us, and we won't let anyone insult our father. Sam went off on her, calling her a disgusting liar, stating he was horrified that he had ever held her hand, and thanking the world that I am always early to everything. He informed her that sticking with a dishonest husband, like her mother did, is not anything to be proud of. He claimed she had merely pretended to be kind so that he would marry her. He then detailed all of the small faults he had overlooked because he sincerely loved her, or at least who he believed she was. Sam stated that he would never forgive her for the suffering she caused his siblings, but he did not hate her because she did not deserve so much of his attention. He concluded by saying she had had enough time to straighten things up and that because she acted like the victim, he would make sure everyone understood why he didn't attend the wedding. It was horrible, but it was therapeutic and important for Sam. Her parents said nothing but were clearly embarrassed. She cried, and her sisters attempted to defend her and their parents' relationship, expecting us to argue back, but we did not. Sam then told his ex-fiance's father, Phil, that he could sue if he wanted, but that doing so would expose all of his family's dirty laundry to the world, which he doubted Phil would want to see. Amazingly, Phil continued to urge that Sam should try to make amends and marry his ex since they're not getting any younger, and all families fight. I have never rolled my eyes harder. The remainder of the meeting was spent on logistics, returning wedding gifts, ceasing harassment from their relatives, canceling the honeymoon, and changing the locks. Sam's ex was crying and attempting to talk to him, but Sam was all business and didn't want anything from her. He only answered directly when she mentioned keeping the engagement ring, even though no one had requested it. Later, when the booze arrived, our mother and husband crept through the gate when it opened. She said she just wanted to talk to her baby boys. My father requested her to go, but she insisted that he had raised us incorrectly and that we had embarrassed her with our actions. She couldn't believe we were such bad people, and suggested we make amends with her because we clearly lacked maternal love. She got it right, and the outcome was pathetic. Joe walked outside and ordered her to go since the cops were on their way. She took advantage of the chance to cry because it was Joe's first conversation with her in roughly 10 years. She tried to persuade him to join her and her husband for dinner, but Joe simply urged her to go and stated that the only thing he wanted to hear about her was when her burial was, so he could rejoice. Mom cried hysterically, while her husband screamed, demanding an explanation and even threatening to strike Joe. My father and Joe went back inside and left them at the gate until we noticed they had finally left. Then we closed the gate. Some people struggle to comprehend why we behave the way we do, yet what I've said about our mother is only the tip of the iceberg. Dad wasn't very proud of what Joe said, but he saw that Joe needed to express himself and was speaking on behalf of all of us. Maybe this makes us awful people, but we really don't want to see her again. We will all have family therapy sessions in addition to individual ones. Sam no longer wants the house, but Dad advises him to take things slowly, with the first step being to mend his heart. We've been watching horror movie marathons, with a few Disney oldies thrown in, and we've even created a drama bingo game with all of the possible outcomes. I suppose we are dramatic after all. We love each other and we're educated to treat others with respect, yet when pushed, we can be petty. While I would never wish to be abandoned at the altar, I would do it again because I adore my brother more than I feel sorry for her. We'll go on a family trip someday, but for now, we'll just enjoy spending time together. To the individual who said Joe is a hero, his siblings could not have asked for a greater brother and friend. We have read all of your letters and would like to thank everyone for allowing us to vent, for the awards, and for their support. Sorry if my English isn't great. Joe and Sam are clearly fictitious names, but I hope you understand. Also, my brothers are reading your remarks and want you to know how much they appreciate your positive attitude. To anyone in a similar circumstance, know that things will get better. Update 2. Some clarifications. You're welcome to PM us, even if you are insulting us, but I will only answer publicly. To the individual who wrote me a harsh essay accusing Joe of being parentified, here's my response. My brothers spent time with me because they wanted to. We had special days together, and they did anything they pleased. They had a large circle of friends and traveled both with and without me. There were nannies, family members, and my father, so they were never obliged to bring me along. They enjoyed a great deal of freedom, within reason. Our parents split when I was 3, and despite shared custody, we spent 90% of our time with Dad. We only went to see our mother in pairs. Joe and Sam only paid her visits once she turned 18, and I had to accompany them because they didn't want me alone. We've all been in therapy for a while, but now we're having extra sessions because we saw our mother again. Joe was the only one to interact with her. We also know how to defend ourselves. Joe confronted our mother on his own. We did not ask him to do so. Why didn't my dad accompany Joe to church? Because Sam begged our father to go home, we didn't think he needed to visit our mother again, even though he had to speak with her later. Sam has cried. He is not a monster. He is simply heartbroken. He believed he could spend the rest of his life with Daniela, that he was a good judge of character, and that he would never have to face our mother again. There are many emotions, but because of our upbringing, we've gotten quite skilled at controlling our feelings with people we don't trust or like. We learned this survival ability as a result of how we were treated. Joe had a relationship with our grandma, but he stopped communicating with her after she invited our mother to his wedding as her +1. The location did not host any religious ceremonies, and security had a no-entry list. Joe sent grandma a note and never spoke with her again. We also did not attend her funeral. The wedding had roughly 250 attendees, and Daniela used different names on the seating chart, so we didn't know about the invitation. By the way, Daniela is not Brazilian, and my father wanted me to let you know that his children are not alcoholics. He's worried that people will believe we are, even though this is anonymous, lol. Anyway, this week has been crazy. Those who advised being prepared for the pregnancy technique were right on. She announced online that she was pregnant, leading others to stress out and phone Sam to see whether it was true. Sam called her and urged her to remove the post, but she kept insisting she was pregnant. He told her they needed to talk, so she erased the post and met up with him. This woman assumed he wanted her back. I accompanied Sam to meet her. She was joyful until she saw me enter the room, at which point she burst into tears and clutched her tummy. Sam questioned her whether she was truly pregnant, and she responded yes, claiming she did not want her child to grow up in a shattered home. Sam insisted on going to the doctor right away to confirm, and she cried even more, yelling that he didn't believe her. Long story short, she was not pregnant. However, following the encounter, she claimed online that Sam was pressuring her to have an abortion and that she was upset. As you may guess, this was terrible, and people were phoning Sam, unsure what to trust anymore. When my sister-in-law, Anna, learned about the posts, she called Daniela. I am not sure what was stated during that chat, but I have never seen Anna so upset. The posts were removed, but Anna sent an email to everyone on the wedding list explaining everything, including the fact that Daniela was never pregnant. This morning, we learned that Daniela had a breakdown and left voicemails for Sam stating that if she couldn't be with him, she wanted to die. This is straight out of our mother's playbook, so Sam called the cops and reported what had occurred. Her family put her into therapy, and she is currently being monitored. None of this makes us happy, but we don't want to be involved anymore. We've already changed our phone numbers and requested new ones. Our mother even emailed Anna, threatening to sue her for defamation over the email campaign, but we aren't worried. Anna's parents are wonderful and fully back how she handled the situation. Joe was upset, but Anna persuaded him to let go and move forward. Mom's spouse has been charming as usual, and Dad is considering a restraining order, which isn't very effective where we live. We had a great time together at home yesterday. There was karaoke, dancing, delicious food and beverages, games, and even a bouncy house, because why not? We adore them. Most people avoided discussing the wedding and the drama, but those who did so in an appropriate manner. Dad has already handed most of the alcohol he paid for as wedding gifts to his employees, allowing them to select one bottle each. He's also including bottles in his Christmas gift baskets this year. We are spending the holidays together and traveling. I told Sam about a new paint color for the house, but he simply does not want to live there anymore. He plans to rent it out. When I joked about eloping or not having a formal wedding to avoid turmoil, Joe told me unequivocally that if I chose to marry, I would have the largest party ever. He is still the finest. Thank you for all of your wonderful comments and messages, not the negative ones, awards, and interest in our situation. And to all the lovely Danielas out there. Sorry, but this is not about you. Holiday update. Thank you for your continued interest. It's always enjoyable to log in and keep you updated on the situation. First, a few points. Hello, finest subreddit and YouTube. You've become part of our family lore. I read every single comment and message. Some people commented that I lacked a feminine figure in my life, although I had my grandmother, aunts, and others. Rita, my father's girlfriend, is not a mother figure, and I do not consider myself a bad woman because of it. When I got my period, my father had a complete plan in place. He told my brothers, and they each took their own method. It may sound awkward to me, but it was even more so for them. It's a funny story that makes me realize how much they care about me. Rita is great, and we adore her. She doesn't mind not being married to Dad, and he doesn't want to marry again, but if he did, we'd support him. Daniela's sisters attempted to stir up more trouble by accusing us of being nasty people, but after Anna's email, no one believed them. One of her sister's boyfriends even broke up with her because he didn't want to be associated with such a nasty family. I will not tell you where we live or what Dad does for a living, so please do not ask again. We have new phone numbers, social media identities, and are preparing a move. Joe and I also have some news. I keep a short note with fictitious names, and I type my posts in Word to prevent stumbling over my babbling. My father wants you all to know that your applications to the cult have been accepted. Anyway, I looked at the last update and couldn't believe it was only in early November. I mostly have positive news for you. Sam's doing great. He's taking time off work, and his supervisor is quite accommodating, telling him he may return when he's ready. He lives with Dad and has adequate savings, so he isn't concerned about money. He has taken up jogging and intends to compete in a marathon next year. Sam is gradually returning to his goofy self, and he is actively assisting Dad in renovating their home, primarily by painting rooms and creating murals. They're having a great time. Daniela wrote Sam a note, but he returned it. The house was listed as a rental, which Sam is fine with. Now for some more exciting news. I am engaged? It turns out that this has been planned for months, and when I joked about eloping, my future husband Matt panicked because he assumed I had worked out his plot. He had already spoken with Sam, who was aware of the proposition but did not want to make him uncomfortable. Joe, and my father. My father gave Matt a hard time when he asked for my hand, saying it was not his to give, but it was all in good fun. The proposal happened earlier this month, and I'm overjoyed, but not as much as my father, who insists on escorting me down the aisle, even if it's a civil wedding. While my news is fantastic, the other major announcement in the family is much better. Joe and Anna had been on the adoption list for a while, and a few weeks ago, they welcomed a baby girl. She is the most gorgeous, charming, and perfect baby ever. The adoption is final, as it usually is with infants in our nation. We knew they wanted to adopt, so when they told us the baby was finally theirs, there were many happy tears. Dad is in full grandpa mode, and despite some difficult circumstances this year, this is by far the nicest thing that has happened to our family. Unfortunately, our mother learned about the baby and requested to meet her. She has been served with our version of a restraining order, and we are determined to keep her from seeing the baby if at all possible. These are the negative news updates. Because of the new COVID version, we decided to stay at home for the holidays and hold a little Christmas celebration to welcome the baby and commemorate our engagement. Joe and his wife were unable to attend in person because the baby was too young, but they participated via Zoom. We also agreed to give Sam some stupid gifts, like Julia Roberts t-shirts and mugs, because he's the family's runaway bride. Joe and I are considering moving because we currently live in flats and would like to reside in a house. We're still a little shaken up by everything, and we know we have some emotional work to do, but we're focused on the good because the bad is in the minority. Whatever happens, I'll always be grateful for my family. I suppose this will be the final update, people. I realize the previous few have been mainly drama-free and perhaps not as thrilling, but we're hoping for less drama in our lives. I have no plans to erase anything, so the account will remain active in case something important happens. I wish you all a fantastic end of year and an amazing 2022. 2022 catch-up. Hello cult. I suppose it is time for a little update for those who are still interested. First, a few points. Yes, Spanish is our native tongue. Adoptions in our country are final and managed by the government, with open adoptions being rare. Joe and Anna have been wanting to have a family through adoption for quite some time. When I mentioned hummus before, it was like when they announced the Pope, LOL. We are now 35, 33, and 29. HB was supposed to stand for husband, but I adore how some of you understood it as huge bastard. Either works, honestly. Joe and I relocated as anticipated last year, and the year has been relatively uneventful. Daniela, on the other hand, surprised everyone by revealing that she is pregnant and that Sam is the father. The strange thing is, Sam cannot be the father because he was not even in the country when the baby was conceived. She had no way of knowing, however. Sam has offered to perform a paternity test several times, but she refuses. Legally, Sam is fine. He just feels awful for her baby. Daniela's father even attempted to sue Sam for emotional distress on behalf of both of his daughters, Daniela and the one whose boyfriend departed. But nothing came of it, thanks to Joe, who is a lawyer. I promise that this information is related to this catch-up. Sam chose not to take any action against Daniela's father since he has too many responsibilities and feels sorry for the family. Our mother still insists on meeting the baby, but it will never happen. She used one of her favorite tactics, pretending she has cancer. She contacted Joe and Anna via their work emails, pleading with them to help her meet the baby since she is critically ill and may require a transplant. This is the 6th time she has claimed to have cancer, but the truth is that she has had it 0 times. She enjoys the attention, sorrow, and drama that evil individuals bring forth in others. We never believed her, of course, but we didn't expect her to make a spectacle of herself by contacting Anna's mother via Facebook. Anna's mother is a gorgeous, devout Catholic lady, so Mother may have felt she was simple to manipulate. Mother told her about the cancer and how heartbroken she was that she would not be able to meet the baby. Anna's mother asked a few questions concerning the diagnosis and therapy, which made no sense as predicted. She then blocked her and shared the screenshots on her wall. It's similar to high school drama, but with more mature characters and witty comebacks. Other than that, the baby is absolutely happy and healthy. The only point of contention was what to call Rita, Dad's girlfriend. Our mother insisted Rita had no right to be called Grandma. Joe and Anna spoke with Rita, and they all agreed that for all intents and purposes, she is Grandma Rita, and our mother can do nothing about it. Sam's doing great. He resigned his job and embarked on his own venture. He is still living in the family home, renting out the second house, and is seeing someone. She's polite, knows about the drama, bakes beautiful cakes, and knows how to knit. We like her, so we're optimistic and cautious. They're taking things slowly, but it's great to see him with someone like this. He also continued to paint rooms with Dad, and the results are painfully comical and stupid, like something you'd see in kindergarten. Please keep in mind that I adore them. Dad contracted COVID for the first time, and he became so afraid that he decided to rewrite his will. That's why Joe's profession is important. They wanted Sam and me to know about it after they were done. Everything Dad has is divided into 4 parts, 3 for his children and the remaining quarter for any grandkids. However, the family home will not be divided and will soon be transferred into my name. I was perplexed, but Joe and Dad reviewed it and decided I could have it, but only if Sam agreed. He did, and he's pleased with it. They didn't provide many explanations, other than that it was the correct thing to do. I believe it's partly because I'm the baby of the family, but that's fine. Joe acquired a house in the same neighborhood as our family home, so while we're not on the same block, we're close. Matt and I are no longer buying anything because I will be getting the house, which makes no sense. We relocated to the family home, which has been interesting yet enjoyable. Dad has started semi-retirement and is spending more time at Rita's, which benefits everyone. Sam, of course, can stay as long as he likes, but his murals must go, LOL. We're still engaged, happy, enjoying babysitting, and not pregnant. But we bought a kitten this spring. We're planning a wedding in December and couldn't have asked for a nicer year-ending celebration. So that is it, no drama, or at least not much drama. We're making progress and healing at a steady pace, which is exactly what we want. In case you're wondering why I'm posting now, one of us is a big admirer of the best of Redditor updates and reminded us of the posts. Anyway, hello from the cult, and we wish you everyone a fantastic final few months of 2022. 2023. Catch up, welcome to Reddit. First, as tradition dictates, we now have 2 cats. Sam moved in with his girlfriend, and we're so glad he's happy again. Dad has semi-moved in with Rita, which has been heartbreaking, but we remain cheerful and supportive of one another. Let us start with the negative news. It turns out that there was cancer on our mother's side, but not hers. One of her stepchildren got it and died earlier this year. She's milking it for all it's worth, and we're furious with her as always. While we sympathize with her loss, we will not change our no contact, NC policy with her and her entire family. Daniela had her kid, a very lovely boy who is clearly not Sam's, not that we ever doubted it. She tried to get him to acknowledge the baby and sign some paperwork, but he refused, and after the paternity test, there was nothing she could do. She lost it when she found out Sam was genuinely dating, and it only got worse when he moved in with his girlfriend. She still feels he is the one for her and is focused on that notion. She even attempted to cyberbully the GF, but this woman is composed of something different. Oh, and the father of her child is a married co-worker in his 50s, which is a whole other story, but not ours to handle. Sam moved in with his girlfriend, and he's still in therapy, as we all are, but he's doing much better. His girlfriend is highly well liked and adored by the family. She understands all that has transpired and has blended seamlessly. Sam is doing well in other areas too and has already completed his first marathon. The timing wasn't ideal, but he did it. Joe, Anna and the baby are all quite pleased. They are still on the list to adopt because they want to have at least one more child. I also wanted to explain that in my country, adoptions are not handled via agencies. You're put on a list after certain tests and interviews to determine whether you're a good candidate, and when a match is made, you get the baby. That baby is yours, and that's it. I understand that this may sound ambiguous, but keep in mind that we are not from the United States, and things differ from country to country. Aside from that, she is simply the best baby ever. I may be biased, but she truly is. Baby is also frequently told no, since we all believe she shouldn't be spoiled, or at least not too spoiled. She has a room at our house and a playpen at Sam's because they are still seeking for a permanent residence, and Sam and his girlfriend work from home. Dad is currently living with Rita. They are really pleased and have lately done a few of excursions. They like being grandparents and are very hands-on. They now claim to have 3 grandbabies, because the cats occasionally visit their home. It's hilarious because my father wasn't initially enthusiastic about getting cats, but now he takes photos of all his babies and prints the finest ones because that's what he's accustomed to. He shares progress reports with his pals, and they often wonder if he's talking about the cats or the baby because he's so enthusiastic about everything they do. In my perspective, he gets kids far too many toys, but apparently that is what grandfathers do. LOL. We were married in December. My father led me down the aisle, despite the fact that we did some unconventional things for our nation. Joe was Matt's best man, while Sam was my best maid. He insisted on being referred to as Julio throughout the wedding planning process. Our mother tried to attend the wedding. She even tried to persuade Anna's mother to help her, but Anna's mother said nothing. Some of Mother's relatives thought it was undignified, not sure if that's the correct term, to have Rita there instead of my own mother, but I believe it's horrible to condone her actions. To each their own. We had a great time, and it was not stressful at all. Nobody fled, yelled out in grief, or attempted to cause a scene. We're rebuilding a portion of the house to make it more ours, and moving out of my childhood bedroom, but so far, everything is going well for the cult. Sam received fewer Julia Roberts-themed gifts this year, but he proudly wears his t-shirts all year long. Finally, Sam's girlfriend has approached us about proposing to him when the time is perfect, so who knows, maybe this time he'll make it to the altar. Now to the next story 9. I stopped having S*X with my wife unless she was sober, and now we're stuck in a loveless, roommate-like marriage, unsure of our future. My wife, 35F, and I, 35M, have been married for 15 years and together for 20. We have 2 children, ages 12 and 14, whom we adore, and we try constantly to provide them with the greatest possible life. Things have been difficult over the last 3 years. I recognize that our children take a lot of our time and resources, with school, band, sports, and extracurricular activities. I am aware of the toll it may have on marriages. However, for the last 3 years, my wife and I have had very little closeness or intercourse. We've been attempting to work on that aspect of our relationship, but the last year has been the most difficult, by far the darkest year of our marriage. We seldom spoke and eventually became roommates, co-parenting under the same home. It was gloomy and discouraging, prompting us to consider divorce. Things became so dark that the entire home turned dismal. We sought aid through individual and couples therapy, which seemed to improve gradually. We began having in-depth conversations about what our marriage looked like and what we hoped it could be. Then things got tougher. My wife told me she was no longer in love with me, but simply saw me as a best friend and loved me in a platonic way. This absence of romantic love was one of the reasons she did not want closeness or sex. I was astonished and devastated. I grew angry and unhappy, unable to understand why the person I loved no longer wanted or desired me. Things deteriorated again, and we were back at square one. One afternoon, I had a heart-to-heart with her, asking where the source of the problem was. Her reaction was, "I don't know." She admitted to harboring animosity against me but couldn't pinpoint the source. This provided little information into how to fix things, leaving me perplexed and frustrated. We've gotten to the point where she claims she has no sex drive or desire for intimacy. She claims she only wants companionship, implying a co-parenting roommate dynamic. I asked her what I could do or what made me unappealing, and her response was invariably, "I don't know." She admits to loving me, but it isn't the same. She's felt isolated for years, and marriage seems like too much work. Her primary emphasis is on the children, and my efforts as a co-parent are important to her. I'm at a loss and simply voicing my frustration. It's difficult to accept that the person you love no longer cares about you. I feel as if I'm only here to give financially and as a parent. When she talks about companionship, it appears that she is content with having a nice father for the children and my financial assistance. She has told me that she has no interest in intimacy and does not want it right now. She stated that the only way she could have sex was if she was intoxicated, which I find abhorrent and unacceptable. I told her I wouldn't be a part of that because forcing herself into intimacy with booze or drugs is unhealthy. To my surprise, this angered her and made her more aloof. Despite this, we are both very honest and open. We have never cheated and we have full access to each other's phones, emails, and social media, but we rarely check. I inquired whether there was anyone else and she denied it, which I trust. We gently searched each other's belongings and, as predicted, found nothing untoward. We've always been forthright, even about difficult things, so I don't suspect any wrongdoing or cheating. Is it wrong for me to decline sex when she's intoxicated? I'm solid in my viewpoint since drunk or high sex does not sit well with me. I have no idea how to help our position, and I am feeling increasingly frightened and frantic. We're both fairly young, healthy and attractive. We both have stable employment and are excellent parents. I'm not sure how our lives brought us to this point. I'd appreciate some outside perspective and advice on how to handle something like this. It feels terrible to be unwanted and undesirable by my own husband. I despise it. We did some swinging in the past, which was enjoyable for a bit. We agreed to stop and have determined that it is no longer a factor. When we were swinging, our marriage appeared to be in good condition. We informed our couples therapist to ensure that we were not overlooking a potential problem. I asked my wife if our swinging experience had changed her opinion of our relationship, but she responded no. Our swinging was always done together, and it was entirely sex-based, with no emotional or polyamorous elements. I believe her because she has always been upfront and honest, even when it is uncomfortable. Swinging was her idea, not mine, and I trust her when she says it's no longer an issue. It could be something she needs to discuss further with her therapist or during our couples treatment. Update 1. The term resentment has long been a central element in therapy. It's been eating me up inside, especially since my wife keeps telling me she has no idea why she is bitter or what's bothering her emotionally. I brought this up again with our therapist, and we spoke about how we'd been together for 15 years, married since we were 14 years old. We grew up together and welcomed our first child when she was 19 and I was 20. That dramatically altered the trajectory of our life. We lived in extreme poverty and faced several difficulties, with little social life over the past decade since we were too preoccupied with raising children. Our children, now 12 and 14, took up all of our attention. The therapist asked my wife a lot of questions about her emotions and 90% of her answers were about the kids. It felt like she was reluctant to say how bad things were at times because she may feel guilty or ashamed, as if it meant she regretted having children. I brought this up during the session, and the therapist pushed her to look at things from a more personal perspective, rather than just as a mother. This was an eye-opener. My wife stated that she was frustrated that we had lost out on so many life events. She was clear, though, that she didn't miss out on other relationships, dating or partying, but she did feel like she had lost all of her friends. This was huge, as one of the most difficult aspects of our lives has been how secluded we've grown while raising children. I reminded her of the importance of friendships and how she should prioritize herself and her social relationships. For the past 3 years, we've talked about the importance of friendships, particularly with peers who can help us negotiate life's problems or just provide us joy. My wife always avoids this, despite her desire for external stimuli. Her children have always been the reason she hasn't invested in friendships or herself. At this point in the conversation, it was evident that many of her complaints were related to the children. I inquired whether she was upset with me because I got her pregnant so young, and she responded no. She admitted that it was illogical to blame me because it takes two to tango. I saw this as progress since it provided us with something to work on. We agreed to devote more time to nurturing friendships, both jointly and individually. Toward the end of the session, we addressed next moves. It was still unknown what would happen. I was forthright in asking my wife what her plans were. I had decided before the session that if she insisted on the co-parenting roommate scenario, I would turn 180 degrees and focus on myself. She essentially repeated the same thing. She doesn't want closeness or sex with me right now, but she loves me and feels horrible about not being there for me. As I said in my initial post, I brought up the brief swinging encounter and she assured me that it was not an issue. I agree with her, it was a mechanical solution to a problem that did not exist at the time. We tried it, agreed to quit and went on. I also mentioned additional life situations that could have produced animosity, but we didn't make much progress in determining the fundamental cause, which was frustrating. I immediately told my wife that I would not be okay with the arrangement. I informed her that I had done everything I could and that this matter no longer involved me or required any more action on my side. I was quite clear that I would not tolerate this dynamic and that I needed to be with someone who actively participated in our marriage, worked toward resolutions, and was interested in sustaining an intimate and sexual relationship. I made it plain that I was not going to be a convenience or just a roommate and co-parent. I told her that I loved her and wanted this to work, but that I would only stay committed to the marriage if she was as devoted. If she wasn't, I wouldn't continue in a relationship where my efforts weren't appreciated. I assured her that I had no plans to leave or seek a divorce, but if this dynamic persisted, divorce was unavoidable. Of course, there were tears, and the session ended on a gloomy, unhappy note. Nothing was addressed, and I left feeling discouraged, determined to begin the 180 approach as soon as possible. The 180 method necessitates maintaining distance while remaining cold and transactional, which is unpleasant, especially since this dynamic was already chilly and transactional. I started following the 180 tactics the same day, informing my wife that I would respect the roommate and co-parent dynamic without complaint, but she should know that I wasn't happy and would never be okay with it. I also told her that if she didn't want to put in the effort, I would stop working on it. She agreed and retired to bed. I began establishing distance, focused on myself, and keeping conversations brief and transactional. When she requested for assistance with personal matters, I declined, which surprised her. She was outraged, accusing me of being juvenile, but I emphasized that she was now accountable for her own life and difficulties. We didn't talk much during the next 3 days, just when absolutely necessary. During this time, she grew visibly concerned and stressed, but I resisted my natural want to console and assist her. She cried one night, telling me she was stressed and worried about me because of my indifference. I reminded her calmly that she had chosen this dynamic, and that I too was taking care of myself. It's been difficult to be cold and distant since, as I've indicated, I adore her and want to touch and console her. However, I knew this could be manipulation on her part to keep me in the friend zone, so I remained the course. Now, a week into the 180 method, I've noticed a lot of changes on her end. I believe she is coming to realize that I am more than just a co-parent and buddy. A few days ago, I texted her a bill breakdown and a 50-50th split on our financial responsibility. She was enraged, calling it out of left field. I said that friends split everything 50-50ths, and as her friend, I expected the same. This made me realize how much I'd been taken for granted. Her pleasure and convenience had been at my expense. I pushed on, reminding her that this was the dynamic she had requested, and that it was still a good deal because she would have to fund 100% of everything if she were on her own. To summarize, while the 180 method has proven effective in many aspects, I remain concerned about the entire issue. There have been numerous eye-opening experiences, some of which have been difficult to confront. However, it has generated renewed energy and attempts on her part. She's talking to me more, and while it's difficult to say no, I hope this continues as things improve. I've also seen that she's making more time for herself outside of motherhood, which is significant given that she neglected herself for many years. I'm glad to see her become more like herself again. My goal is that as we work on ourselves, our marriage will improve. It's impossible to predict where this will go from here. We remain courteous and friendly, which is a positive indication. Boundaries are established, and expectations are extremely apparent. Whatever the conclusion, I will be satisfied with everything that has been accomplished. We will continue with couples therapy until we either reignite our marriage or divorce. A non-biased third party serves as a witness and advisor during this process. No matter what, I will always love my wife, but I will not participate in a sexless, intimacy-free marriage because we deserve more.
Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.